You hear the rattle of metal lungs, the hiss of a cough that sounds more beast than man. And then, glowing eyes cut through the shadows. He was born a warrior of flesh and blood, but rebuilt into a monster of steel and rage. A killer who feared nothing, except the memory of who he used to be. This is the rise and the fall of General Grievous. And tonight, you'll live his story as if you were there. You open your eyes to smoke. It curls above you like ghosts, weaving through the broken sky. The air is thick with dust, heavy in your throat, and every breath tastes of ash and iron. The ground beneath your feet trembles with the thunder of battle, and in the distance, firelight flickers like dying suns. You are not safe here. No one is. This is Kalee, your world, your battlefield, your cage. The cries of the wounded echo across the canyon walls, raw and desperate. They do not sound like voices anymore. They sound like animals cornered in the dark. Each scream slices through you like a blade, and yet you do not flinch. You've heard them before. You've lived with them since the day you first learned to hold a spear. On Kalee, death is not a stranger. Death is a neighbor, whispering at your door, reminding you that tomorrow is never promised. You press your hand to the rough stone, feeling the tremor as another detonation rips across the battlefield. A plume of dust erupts in the distance, blotting out the horizon, and you smell the acrid stench of burning hide and shattered bone. Your people, your family, your tribe, are scattered across the fields below. Warriors clash with insectoid invaders, the Huk, their chittering screams sharp as knives, their claws glinting in the firelight. You see one of them lunge, its jagged mandibles dripping with venom. You see the Kaleesh warrior fall beneath it, blood spilling like a river across the dust. And in that moment, you understand again what your people have always known. Survival is not granted. It must be carved from the flesh of your enemies. The mask of your ancestors rests heavy on your face. Bone pressed against skin, cool and unyielding, its weight is both comfort and curse. It hides your fear from those who look to you for strength, but it also reminds you of the burden you carry. Every scar carved into its surface is a story, and tonight you will carve another. You grip your spear tighter. The wood creaks beneath your hands, worn smooth by years of use. The point gleams faintly in the firelight, and you feel the familiar warmth of resolve settle into your chest. You step forward, into the chaos, and the sounds of war rise up to meet you, shields clashing, the hiss of arrows, the tearing shriek of blaster fire stolen from fallen enemies. Your legs burn as you sprint down the rocky slope. Dust stings your eyes. A Huk warrior turns toward you, its insectoid form towering, chitin glistening. It lunges, claws snapping, and for a heartbeat, the world narrows to nothing but you and the monster before you. You feel the rush of air as its claws slash past your head. You taste copper as you bite down on fear. And then, instinct takes over. Your spear finds its mark. The creature convulses as the blade drives deep, its screeching wail rattling your bones. You wrench the weapon free, and hot blood sprays across your mask, thick and metallic. The Huk collapses at your feet, its limbs twitching like broken strings. The battle surges around you, but for a single breath, you stand still, victorious, alive. That is the only truth that matters here. Not glory, not honor, not peace. Only this: if you do not kill, you will be killed. That is the first lesson of Kalee. That is the lesson you were born into. The dust swirls again, and through it you see the children, huddled behind broken walls, their eyes wide and hollow. They clutch at each other, trembling, watching as their fathers and mothers spill blood in the dirt. You see them, and for an instant something cracks inside you. They should not have to watch this. They should not know what it means to survive through slaughter. And yet deep down, you know they will. For this war will not end with you. It will not end with them. It will stretch on, you, until every Kaleesh child learns the taste of ash and the sound of dying screams. You want to promise them safety. You want to believe you can shield them. But on Kalee, promises are lies, and so instead, you grip your weapon tighter and give them the only promise that matters. You will fight until you can fight no more. The sky above Kalee is painted red by fire. The twin moons hang like watching eyes, pale and merciless. You hear the rattle of drums, your people's war chant, rising against the endless shrieks of the Huk. The rhythm shakes your chest, sinking with the pounding of your heart. It tells you that you are not alone. It tells you that you are part of something greater, something older than fear. but it also reminds you of the cost. You see your kin fall, one by one, swallowed by the swarm. You smell the burning flesh of your neighbors. You hear the crack of bones beneath insect claws. Every sense screams at you to run, to hide, to vanish into the caves and never return. And yet you cannot, because this is not just a battle. This is your birthright. This is what it means to be Kaleesh. The spear grows heavier in your hands, not from its weight, but from what it represents. Every thrust, every strike, every kill is another step away from the boy you once were, and another step closer to the monster the galaxy will one day call by another name. And that is why it sucked to be born Kaleesh. Because on Kalee, you are never given the chance to simply live. You are forged, hammered by violence, until there is nothing left but the warrior. The night stretches on, filled with smoke and steel. You do not know how long you fight, only that the battle has no end. At times, it feels as though the world itself is against you, the sky choking you with ash, the earth trembling beneath your feet, even the air cutting into your lungs like knives. You are surrounded by enemies, but more than that, you are surrounded by despair, and yet you keep moving. Beck, os to stop is to die. Hours pass like minutes, bodies pile high. The fires grow brighter, hotter, until the night glows like a second dawn. And in the middle of it all, you stand unbroken. Bloodied, yes. Exhausted, yes. But still alive, still fighting. You raise your mask to the sky, and for a moment you wonder if anyone, anywhere, hears the cries of your people. You wonder if the galaxy even cares that your world is drowning in blood. And deep down, a shadow begins to stir in your heart. A whisper that says, if they will not care, then you will make them. You will carve your story into the galaxy's bones, until no one can ever forget the name of your people. The whisper grows louder as the battle dies down. Smoke curls from the ruins. The cries of the dying fade into silence, and you are left standing in the wreckage, mask heavy, spear slick with blood. You close your eyes, and in the darkness behind them, you see a future painted not in peace, but in vengeance. But vengeance has a cost. And as you take your first step toward it, you feel the ground quake again, not from war drums, not from explosions, but from something far greater, far darker, rising just beyond the horizon. And you know, without words, that your war has only just begun. The drums rise like thunder, deep, booming, primal. Each strike reverberates through your chest, rattling your ribs until you can feel your heartbeat trying to match their rhythm. The air is thick with dust, with sweat, with the sour tang of blood carried by the wind. Fires burn along the ridges, their smoke curling into the night sky like black banners of defiance. And there, at the center of it all, you see him, Qymaen Sheelal, not just a warrior, not just another son of Kalee. Tonight, he is the spearhead of his people's fury. Tonight, he is the fire that will not go out. You grip your own weapon and watch as he strides forward, bone mask gleaming under the flicker of torchlight. His every step is measured, deliberate, heavy with purpose. The Kaleesh around him chant his name, their voices raw with devotion. They call him protector, they call him champion, and for a moment you feel the pull of that word, champion, as though it could shield you from the truth that death is always waiting, hidden in the dark. He raises his spear high and the drums fall silent. All you can hear now is the hush of the wind, the shuffle of warriors waiting for his command, and the quiet, electric crackle of anticipation crawling across your skin. Qymaen speaks, his voice muffled by the mask, but strong enough to carry across the canyon. He does not promise victory. He does not promise survival. He promises only this, that no Kaleesh blood will be spilled tonight without the Huk spilling more in return. You feel it sink into you, heavier than armor, sharper than any blade. You believe him. The charge comes like a storm. You throw yourself forward with the others, legs burning, lungs clawing for air as you sprint down the jagged slope. The world is a blur of motion and sound, the crack of stone beneath your feet, the metallic chitter of Huk war cries, the shrieks of arrows cutting through. The night, your spear vibrates in your hands, eager, restless, as though it knows what is coming, and at the front of it all, Qymaen moves like lightning-made flesh, his spear arcs flashing in the torchlight, every strike precise, every movement honed by years of endless battle. The Huk scatter before him, You see one leap at him, mandibles dripping with venom, claws raised high. But Qymaen does not falter. His spear thrusts forward, piercing the beast clean through, and with a twist he sends it crumpling to the dust. Another Huk rushes from his flank, screeching, and he spins, spear slicing its chitinous chest in two. The sound it makes, the crunch of shell breaking, the wet collapse of flesh, echoes in your ears long after it falls. And through it all, he does not stop moving. Not once. Not even to breathe. You feel the surge of power he gives to those around him. The Kaleesh fight harder, their chants louder now, their fear burned away by the fire of his example. You feel it in yourself too, the way your arms grow stronger, your strikes more certain, as if some part of his will has passed into you. You fight with him, because to do anything less would be to shame the mask you wear. And when you thrust your spear into the chest of a Huk, when you feel its body shudder and collapse, you hear yourself whisper his name, not as a prayer, as a promise. The battle rages long into the night. The air is hot, suffocating, filled with the stench of blood and the sickly sweetness of burning chitin. Every breath you take is a battle of its own, every step forward a victory. You hear Qymaen's voice cutting through the chaos, shouting commands, urging the wounded back, pushing the strong forward. He is everywhere at once, on the ridges, in the center, striking like a serpent at the Huk leaders. His mask gleams red with firelight and blood, and you wonder if he was born to wear it, if the bone itself remembers every warrior who came before. You see him fall to one knee, struck by a Huk's claw across the chest. The air leaves your lungs in a single sharp gasp, but then he rises again, faster than the creature expects, his spear bearing deep into its skull. The ground shakes as it falls, and the roar of Kaleesh victory rises even louder. You feel relief crash over you like a wave, and you realize something dangerous. You cannot imagine this war without him. Without Qymaen, the Kaleesh are just scattered tribes, scattered voices. With him, they are one. With him, they are unbreakable. But deep down, beneath the roar of battle and the rush of adrenaline, another thought lingers. Colder, sharper, more poisonous. If all your strength rests in one man, what happens when he falls? The night ends in fire and silence. The Huk retreat, their dead littering the valley, their blood soaking into Kalee's dust. The Kaleesh gather, their chants rising into the stars, voices hoarse but proud. You watch Qymaen standing at the center of them, mask tilted toward the sky, spear raised in salute to the ancestors. He does not smile, he does not bask in their praise. He only stands in the firelight, silent, as though some part of him already knows the truth, that this victory is only a pause, never an end. The drums begin again, slower now, heavier. Why? I'll feel them in your bones as you walk among the fallen, seeing the faces of those who will never rise again. Friends, kin, brothers, sisters, their blood is the price of your survival. And though the chants praise Qymaen, you wonder if they curse him too, for every hero carries a shadow, and every champion, no matter how bright, eventually bleeds. You look at him one last time before the night swallows you whole. His eyes, glowing faintly behind the bone mask, are not the eyes of a man who has found peace. They are the eyes of someone who knows this war will demand more than he can ever give. And as the wind shifts, carrying with it the faintest scent of salt and smoke, you hear the whispers of a new storm gathering just beyond the horizon. A war that will stretch far beyond this valley. A war that will not end with the Huk alone. And that is why it sucked to be a hero of the Kaleesh. Because no matter how high you rise, the galaxy is waiting to break you. The night grows colder, the fire burns lower, and in the silence between drumbeats, you feel it, the first tremor of betrayal, coming not from your enemies, but from those who claim to judge in the name of peace. The first thing you notice is the smell, acrid, choking, thick with the sting of burning flesh. It seeps into your lungs and clings to your tongue, sour and bitter, until every breath tastes like smoke, and every swallow feels like swallowing ash. Then you hear it, the clicking, the shrieking, the chittering chorus that does not belong to your people. It rises over the hills like a plague of locusts, sharp and inhuman, crawling into your ears until you want to tear the sound out of your skull. The Huk are here, and when they come, they do not come to conquer, they come to consume. You stand on the ridge above your village and watch as their shadows spill across the valley floor. Dozens, hundreds. Their insectoid bodies gleam in the firelight, Qymaen catching every flame as if they were clad in armor spun from nightmares. Their claws click against stone, mandibles gnash, and the air fills with the hiss of their venom. Behind you, the cries of your people rise, a mixture of fear and defiance, a desperate sound, like the howl of prey that refuses to run. Children cling to their mothers. Elders clutch bone talismans and whisper prayers to gods that feel far too distant. And in the center of it all, you feel your heart hammering like a drum, wild and unsteady, a reminder that you are alive for now, but maybe not for long. The first wave hits before you can even blink. Huk leap over walls, their claws slicing through wood and flesh with equal ease. You hear the crack of bone, the wet thud of bodies falling, the shattering of pottery and stone. Villagers scatter, some grabbing spears, others running into the smoke. A Kaleesh warrior charges with a battle cry, only to be swept aside, his blood spraying across the dirt as the Huk tear him open. The sight burns itself into your eyes. You tell yourself to move, to fight, but for a moment, all you can do is watch as your home is a graveyard. Qymaen does not freeze. He never freezes. His spear spins in his hands, cutting arcs of silver through the fire-lit haze. Every thrust finds a target. Every swing carves another insect down. He moves like water, like fire, like something greater than flesh and bone. Around him, your people rally, voices rising in desperate unity. The drums beat again, faster, louder, trying to drown out the shrieks of the invaders. And you follow them into the storm, because to do anything less would be to surrender your soul. The Huk are not just soldiers, they are slavers. You see it in the way they grab the wounded instead of killing them, dragging them into nets woven from sticky, glistening fibers. You see it in the way they bind screaming children, carrying them away on spindly legs. The sound of their cries sears itself into you, echoing louder than the war drums, louder than the clash of weapons. You feel your stomach twist with rage so sharp it makes you tremble. Rage that burns hotter than fear. Rage that tells you this war is not just about survival anymore. It is about vengeance. You throw yourself at one of them, spear striking with all the strength your arms can summon. The tip cracks through chitin, sinking into flesh. The Huk screeches, green ichor spraying across your hands, hot and slick. The smell is nauseating, sweet and rotten, like spoiled meat left too long in the sun. You wrench your weapon free and strike again and again until it lies still. But even as it falls, two more take its place, their mandibles snapping, their claws slicing the air inches from your face. You stumble back, barely raising your weapon in time, when suddenly a shadow moves past you. Qymaen. His spear drives clean through one Huk, pinning it to the ground, before he whirls and slashes the other across its neck. The sound is sickening, wet and final. He doesn't even look at you. He just moves on, already hunting the next. And in that moment you see something in him you hadn't before. Not just strength, not just skill, but fury. A cold, unrelenting fury that will never rest so long as the Huk still draw breath. Hours bleed together. The fires spread, turning night into a twisted, flickering dawn. The screams never stop, neither do the chittering calls of the Huk, echoing across the hills like a nightmare chorus. You grow numb to it. You fight until your arms ache, until your hands blister, until your throat is raw from shouting. You stumble across corpses of friends, of family, their lifeless eyes staring up at the smoke-filled sky. You want to stop, to mourn, but there is no time. There is only the next enemy, and the next, and the next. When the dawn finally comes, it brings no warmth. The sun rises weak and pale, its light strangled by the smoke that still coils across the valley. You stand amid the ruins of your home. The huts are burned to the ground. The wells are poisoned. The fields are trampled. The air is heavy with the stench of rot and ash. Your people gather in silence, what few remain. Children who will never see their parents again. Warriors who can barely stand, their bodies covered in wounds. Elders who stare blankly at the ashes of their lives. And at the center of it all, Qymaen stands tall. His mask is cracked, smeared with blood not his own. His spear is broken at the tip. His chest rises and falls with ragged breaths. And yet his eyes, those burning eyes behind the mask, are sharper than ever. He does not weep. He does not falter. He swears, in a voice that cuts through the silence like a blade, that he will never let the screams of his people be forgotten, that the Huk will choke on the blood they have spilled, that no Kaleesh child will ever again be dragged away in chains without the Huk paying for it 1,000-fold. You feel those words etch themselves into your bones. They are not just a vow, they are a curse upon the Huk, and perhaps upon yourself, because vengeance has a way of devouring more than just your enemies, and that's why it sucked to be Kaleesh. Because even your victories come soaked in grief, and every promise of vengeance means another war, another fire, another grave. The silence lingers too long. The wind shifts, carrying with it the faintest sound of something distant, something colder than chittering cries, something larger than insect claws. Ships, engines, not Kaleesh, not Huk, something else. And as you lift your gaze to the smoke-filled sky, you see the faint glow of foreign stars moving in patterns too precise to be chance, and you realize with a sinking dread that your war has just drawn the attention of powers far beyond your world, powers who will not see heroes or victims, only judgment. You hear the verdict long before you see its face. Words whispered in faraway halls, words that taste like poison by the time they reach your world. Aggressors, criminals, guilty. They are not spoken in your tongue, but their meaning cuts deep all the same. And when you close your eyes, you imagine them carried across the galaxy, not on parchment or voice, but carved into stone, heavy enough to crush an entire people. The war drums of your ancestors still echo in your chest, but now their rhythm falters. Not because the Huk have vanished, but because the galaxy has turned its gaze toward you and chosen to see monsters. The Huk slavers, those who came like locusts, who burned your homes and carried away your children, kneel before the Republic's golden court and weep false tears. They whine of Kaleesh savagery, of raids and slaughter. They show scars as trophies, and they tell stories of a noble species brought low by barbaric warriors. And the Jedi, keepers of peace, protectors of justice, listen, their faces calm, their robes perfect, their voices measured. They hear only one side, and when the time comes, their judgment falls not on the Huk who enslaved you, but on you, the Kaleesh who dared to fight back. You can almost smell the chambers on Coruscant as if you stood there. Polished stone, incense smoke curling in delicate spirals, cool air humming with the sound of 1,000 floating speeders. It is a world far removed from the ash-choked sky of Kalee, far removed from the screams of the children dragged into nets, far removed from the bitter copper taste of blood that never quite leaves your tongue. And perhaps that is why they do not understand. Perhaps that is why their judgment comes so easily. Sanctions, blockades, fine. They do not send aid, do not send soldiers to stop the Huk. Instead, they send chains. They cut your trade. They starve your villages. They name you guilty and carve it into the annals of the Republic as though it were truth itself. Your honor becomes shackles, your victories erased, your stories rewritten. To the galaxy, you are no longer the defender of your people. You are the villain. You feel the sting of betrayal like a blade driven deep between your shoulder blades. For years you had told yourself that if the galaxy knew the truth, if the Great Republic and its wise Jedi could see the bodies burned, hear the screams of the stolen, smell the ruin the Huk had left behind, then justice would come. But now, standing in the ruins of your people's villages, you realize the truth. They did not see, they did not want to see, they were never looking. And that is why it sucked to be Kaleesh. Because no matter how loudly you cried, no matter how deeply you bled, the galaxy turned its gaze away and called you the monster. The anger builds inside you like a fire with no air, desperate and suffocating. Qymaen stands at the center of it. You watch him lift his cracked mask toward the sky as the decree is read aloud. His shoulders are tense, his hands clenched so tight around his spear that the wood creaks in protest. He does not speak. He does not need to. His silence is heavy enough to drag the entire camp down into despair. But in his silence, you hear the fracture. You feel the dark seed planting itself in his chest, a seed watered by betrayal and destined to bloom into something merciless. Around you, the people wail. Some scream at the sky, fists raised. Others sink to their knees in silence, the last thread of hope cut from them. The children do not understand the words, but they feel the shift. They feel the despair settling into the bones of their elders, into the air they breathe. You hear one whisper, "If the Jedi are good, why do they hate us?" And you have no answer. Qymaen's heart begins to darken in ways you cannot yet name. You see it in the way his eyes linger longer on the dead, as if memorizing their faces. You see it in the way his strikes in battle grow sharper, crueler, as though he fights not just to win, but to punish. And you hear it in his voice when he finally speaks, hoarse and low, promising that if the galaxy sees him as a monster, then a monster is what they will get. The Huk grow bolder under the Republic's blessing. They march across your lands with the arrogance of victors, their claws dripping with the certainty that they will never face consequence. Villages burn again, chains rattle louder, and now, when the Kaleesh fight back, they do so as outlaws, branded criminals in the eyes of those who never cared for the truth. You walk through the ashes of yet another village. The stench is unbearable. Burned wood, charred flesh, the faint sweetness of decay. Flies swarm in clouds so thick you can taste them. The silence is worse than the screams. It is the silence of absence, of lives stolen away. And through it all, the decree of the Jedi rings in your head like a cruel echo. Aggressors, criminals, guilty. You want to shout until your voice breaks. You want to tear the stars from the sky and drag them down to see what has been done. But the stars are too far. The galaxy is too far, and you realize with a cold, sinking dread that the only ears left to hear you are the ones who will never listen. That night, Qymaen stands by the fur, mask gleaming, shadows flickering across his broad frame. His voice is steady, calm, but there is a sharpness in it that was not there before. He speaks of vengeance, not just against the Huk, but against those who betrayed the Kaleesh by siding with them. He speaks of the Jedi, of their blind judgment, of their robes that hide eyes too willing to look away. He promises that one day they will regret the chains they've placed upon his people. You listen, and part of you trembles, not from fear of your enemies, but from fear of what Qymaen is becoming. His words are fire, but fire does not stop burning once the battle ends. Fire consumes everything, and though you feel the warmth of his strength, you also feel the heat of something more dangerous, something that could turn against even those it swore to protect. The flames crackle, sparks rising into the night sky like scattered stars. You follow their ascent until they vanish into the smoke, and in the silence between heartbeats, you realize something chilling. The Huk may have been the enemy that broke your body, but it was the Jedi who broke your spirit. The night grows darker. The drums fall silent, and on the horizon, beneath the curtain of stars, you see the faint silhouette of ships that do not belong to the Kaleesh or the Huk, ships with symbols you do not recognize, and in that moment, you know the galaxy has not finished with you yet. The betrayal of the Jedi is only the beginning. The hands reaching for your people now are colder, greedier, and far more dangerous than anything you've faced before. The firelight dances against bone, pale, cracked, unyielding. It stares back at you from the dirt where it has been placed. Hollow eye sockets wide enough to swallow the night. The skull belonged once to a great predator, a beast that stalked Kalee's jagged cliffs, its teeth sharp enough to strip flesh from bone. Now it lies silent, emptied of life, waiting for another to claim its shape. You kneel before it, the scent of smoke thick in your nostrils, the taste of ash still clinging to your tongue from the day's battle. Your hands tremble, not from weakness, but from the weight of what you are about to do. The voices of your people murmur behind you. Some whisper prayers, others weep softly. All of them watch. They know what this moment means. They know that once the mask is lifted, the man they followed, the warrior they trusted, will be changed forever. For bone is more than armor. Bone is memory. Bone is vengeance carved into form. You pick it up. Cold seeps instantly into your skin. The bone is heavier than it looks, carrying with it the weight of every story it has touched. You turn it over in your hands, tracing the rough edges, the grooves worn into it by age and time. The fire's glow slips across its surface, and for a moment you imagine you see faces reflected there, the faces of your fallen people, your family, your friends. Their eyes hollow, their mouths silent, demanding that you carry them, demanding that you never let them be forgotten. When you lift it to your face, the world changes. The bone settles against your skin, pressing cool and hard against your cheeks, your brow, the bridge of your nose. Your breath rattles against it, fogging the inside for a moment before it clears. The smell of old death lingers faintly, mingled with the earthy scent of dust. and then silence. For just a second, the world feels muted, distant. The fire dims, the voices blur. All that exists is the mask and the darkness it brings. You look through its hollow eyes, and the world looks different, sharper, colder. The fire burns less warmly, the faces of your people blur at the edges. You cannot see their tears anymore, cannot see their fear as clearly. Instead, all you see are shapes, shadows, outlines of enemies, and for the first time you understand the mask's true purpose. It does not just frighten those who look upon it, it frightens you. It strips away the man, leaving only the warrior. Behind it, you hide your sorrow. Behind it, you bury the last of your mercy. You tell yourself it is necessary, that to protect your people, you must become the monster they fear. But deep down, a small voice whispers, once you wear the mask long enough, will you ever be able to take it off? The next battle comes swiftly, as they always do. Huks swarm again, their claws scratching against stone, their screeches rising into the smoke. But this time, when you step forward, their cries falter. They see the mask first, not the man behind it. They see the hollow eyes, the jagged teeth painted across the bone, the way you stand unflinching as the fire burns at your back. Their hesitation is brief, but you feel it. You taste it like blood on your tongue. Fear. You charge. The ground cracks beneath your feet, the air filled with the thunder of your war cry. The Huk meet you with claws and venom, but the mask does its work. They flinch. They hesitate, and in that heartbeat of doubt, your spear strikes true. You drive it through one, tear it free, and spin toward the next. The mask does not blink. The mask does not feel. The mask does not forgive. It only stares, unyielding, as bodies fall at your feet. Your people rally behind you. Their own masks gleam in the firelight, bone upon bone, tribe upon tribe. You see them transform, their sorrow hidden, their humanity hardened. The battlefield becomes a sea of skulls. Hollow eyes glinting, spears flashing like lightning. The Huk scream louder now, but their terror is unmistakable. They are no longer fighting men. They are fighting ghosts. And yet, when the battle is over, when the smoke clears and the last Huk body twitches in the dust, you do not remove the mask. You cannot. The bone has become part of you. Your breath rasps against it, hot and damp, but you feel naked at the thought of taking it off. Without it, you would be Qymaen again, the man who wept when children were stolen, the man who prayed for the galaxy to see justice. But Qymaen is gone. In his place stands something colder, harder, more enduring, something the galaxy will never forget. At night, you sit by the fire, the mask still pressed to your face. Your people feast, celebrate, chant your name. To them, you are a hero. To your enemies, you are a monster. But in the silence between the chants, in the darkness behind the bone, you wonder who you are now. You wonder if the mask is protecting your people from your sorrow, or if it is protecting you from yourself. Because when you take it off, you will have to face the grief. And grief is heavier than any bone. The children stare at you differently now, their eyes wide, their breaths quick. Some hide behind their mothers when you pass. Others trace their fingers across their own small bone masks, whispering promises to grow strong enough to wear them as you do. You see their admiration, but you also see their fear. You wonder which will grow stronger in them, the devotion or the dread. You catch your reflection in a pool of water one night. The mask stares back, its hollow eyes cold and endless. You lift your hand to touch it, and for a moment you imagine another figure standing there, taller, broader, faceless. You do not recognize him, and yet you feel he is waiting for you, some future self, forged entirely from rage and bone. The thought makes your stomach twist, but you do not look away. You cannot. That's why it sucked to wear the mask of vengeance. Because once you hide behind it, you are never sure if the mask is hiding your grief, or if it is consuming you whole. The wind howls across the cliffs, carrying with it the sound of drums from another village. Drums of warning, drums of battle. You rise, spear in hand, mask unyielding, your people following close behind. And as you march into the night, you hear a different sound, one that does not belong to the Huk. Engines, metallic, humming, alien, ships in the sky that are not Kaleesh, ships that do not come for vengeance, but for something far worse. And in that moment you realize, the mask may frighten the Huk, but it will mean nothing to the powers now watching from above. The night feels wrong, too quiet. The wind carries no scent of smoke, No cry of Huk warriors, no pounding of war drums. Only stillness, heavy and uneasy, pressing against your skin like damp cloth. You crouch near the embers of a fading fire, your mask staring into the darkness, and for the first time in weeks, there is no battle to fight. But peace has not come. Peace has never come. Tonight, something else waits in the shadows. You hear it first, the faint, mechanical clicking that does not belong to your world. Precise, unnatural, like claws tapping stone in rhythm. It echoes off the cliffs, hollow and cold. The sound tightens your chest, makes your grip tighten on your spear. You know the sound of enemies. You know the sound of beasts. But this is neither. This is something crafted, something designed, something that does not breathe or bleed. Out of the darkness, pale lights blink open, tiny red eyes, glowing in unison. Droids, thin skeletal forms step into the firelight, their joints creaking, their movements too smooth to belong to living things. Their weapons gleam with polished steel, unfamiliar, deadly. They stop just beyond the fire's edge, still and silent, waiting like statues carved from metal. Behind them the shadows ripple and another presence emerges. A voice follows. Not insectoid screeches, not the desperate cries of villagers. A voice smooth, polished, carrying the weight of wealth and control. Qymaen Jai Sheelal. The name rolls off the tongue as if it has been practiced. The figure steps forward, robed in fine cloth, its face half hidden beneath the hood of power. You smell the faint perfume of oils, the kind only off-worlders can afford, mixing uneasily with the raw earth of your homeland. It makes your stomach turn. The stranger smiles, thin and sharp. We have been watching. The words fall like stones into silence. Your people bristle behind. You, their spears lowering, their eyes narrowing. The mask on your face hides the flicker of unease, but inside, your thoughts churn. Who are these beings? Who dare to stand on Kaleesh soil uninvited? Who dare to call your name as though they own it? The man, or perhaps just the mouthpiece of something greater, spreads his hands, a gesture of peace that feels more like a performance. You have fought bravely, fiercely. The galaxy does not understand your people, but we see your strength. We see what you could become. His voice is honey, but it drips too thick. Behind it you hear the hum of calculation, the weight of a trap already sprung. The droids shift slightly, weapons glinting in the firelight. Their presence is not reassurance. It is threat. You understand it instantly. This is not a request. This is not diplomacy. This is a leash being offered, disguised as a crown. Qymaen does not move at first. His mask tilts slightly, bone glinting, firelight dancing in the hollow eyes. His silence stretches long, heavy enough that even the droids seem to hold their breathless vigil. Finally he speaks, his voice low, rough, edged with exhaustion and fire. What do you want? The stranger's smile widens. We want to give you what the Republic has denied. Weapons, ships, power, the means to end your enemies once and for all. The Huk would not dare crawl across your soil again, and the Jedi who judged you, they would be forced to respect what they cannot destroy. The promise hangs in the air like smoke. You feel it coil inside your chest, cold and tempting. Weapons that could tear through Huk swarms. Ships that could strike at their worlds. The image flickers in your mind. Your people safe at last. The Huk broken and scattered. The Jedi silenced by fear of you. For a moment it feels possible, but beneath it, doubt festers. Power never comes freely. You know the sound of bait when you hear it. You know the shape of a snare when you see it, and yet your people's eyes gleam with desperate hope. They whisper to one another, voices trembling. We could win. We could finally win. You feel the mask against your skin, pressing harder, colder. The bone is unyielding, its hollow eyes staring through you. It asks you the question you cannot escape. If this is the only way to save your people, what will you sacrifice? The stranger steps closer, the firelight painting his face in shades of gold and shadow. Think carefully, warrior. The galaxy already calls you a monster. Why not use that fear? Why not become the weapon they dread? His words pierce you, sharp and deliberate. They speak directly to the rage already festering in your chest, the bitterness born from Jedi betrayal, the fury you've buried beneath every kill. The droids click again, shifting in perfect unison, as though emphasizing the point. Their mechanical presence chills you. They do not breathe. They do not bleed. They do not weep when children are taken. They only obey. And you wonder, if you take this bargain, if you bind your people to this power, will you too become like them? Empty, hollow, a machine disguised as a man. But the stranger does not wait for your doubt to settle. He gestures, and a crate is brought forward, opened with a hiss. Inside, the glow of energy weapons, far deadlier than any spear, gleams in the firelight. Blasters, grenades, technology your people have only heard whispers of. The sight steals the breath from those around you. Murmurs rise louder now, almost frantic. They want this. They need this. You hear their voices, and you hear your own heartbeat pounding like a drum inside your skull. Each thud whispers, "If you refuse, they will die. If you refuse, more villages will burn. If you refuse, the Huk will win." The thought coils around you tight, suffocating. You take a step forward. The mask tilts, the fire reflecting in its hollow eyes. The stranger smiles again, certain of victory. "Do we have an understanding, General?" he asks, giving you a title that feels like both an honor and a chain. For a long moment, silence stretches. The fire crackles. The droids wait. The night itself seems to hold its breath. And then, finally, you speak. Your voice is low, rough, steady. "Bring your weapons, bring your ships, but understand this. I serve no master. Not you. Not the Republic. Not anyone. If you betray my people, I will wear your bones as my mask." The words ripple through the camp like thunder. Some of your people cheer, others shiver. The stranger only smiles wider, though the gleam in his eyes betrays something colder. Amusement, perhaps, or calculation. The deal is struck, the alliance is sealed, and though the fire burns warm, the night suddenly feels colder, as though the stars themselves have turned their gaze away. You feel it in your bones, heavier than the mask you wear. You have just stepped into a trap you cannot yet see. That's why it sucked to be Kaleesh, because every promise of salvation comes wrapped in chains you do not notice until it is too late. The droids retreat into the dark, their glowing eyes vanishing one by one, like embers dying in ash. The stranger follows, his robes trailing across the dirt, his smile lingering in your mind like a scar. And when the silence returns, it is not peace. It is the silence of a snare tightening around your throat. Above you, the night sky glimmers with cold stars, but one of them moves, slow, deliberate, a ship shifting into orbit, watching, waiting. And in that moment, you understand the truth. The Huk were never your greatest enemy. The Republic was never your greatest betrayer. The galaxy itself has set its eyes upon you, and it will not let go. The night sky burns. You hear it before you see it. The shriek of tearing metal, high and unnatural, a sound that claws through your ears and vibrates down to the marrow of your bones. It is the sound of something mighty breaking apart, a predator's roar turned into a death scream. You lift your eyes, and there, cutting across the black velvet of the stars, is a wound of fire. A ship, vast and trembling, trailing smoke and flame as it carves its fall through the heavens. The heat of it reaches you even from the ground, a dry, searing wave that tastes like copper and ash. Sparks scatter across the night like burning meteors, lighting the ridges, casting jagged shadows of stone and bone across the land. Your people look up in horror, in awe, their chants falling silent as the sky itself seems to collapse. Somewhere beneath the fire, somewhere inside that dying beast of steel, is Qymaen Sheelal. The impact is coming. You can feel it in the ground already, a trembling under your feet, as though the planet itself braces for the blow. The air thickens with smoke, choking, stinging your eyes until tears run unbidden. The roar grows louder, impossibly loud, drowning out the sound of your own heartbeat. And then it happens. The ship collides with the ocean. The explosion blossoms across the horizon, white-hot, blinding, as though a second sun has been born just to die in the same instant. The force slams into you, a wall of sound and heat that knocks the breath from your chest, rattles your bones, drives you to your knees. You taste salt and blood on your tongue as your teeth jar together. The ocean rises in fury, a wave taller than the cliffs themselves, surging outward with the rage of a god disturbed. Spray lashes your skin like knives of ice. For a moment, the world is chaos, fire and water entwined, battling for dominance. Steam erupts, rolling across the shore in choking clouds. The night sky is gone, devoured by smoke, and all you can hear is the endless shriek of metal breaking, the hiss of boiling sea, the roar of waves smashing against stone. Somewhere in that storm, a life hangs suspended on the knife edge of fate. Qymaen should have died. No one survives a fall like that. No one survives being torn from the sky, swallowed by fire, and drowned by an ocean's wrath. And yet, as the water rushes back, dragging wreckage down into its black depths, something in you resists the certainty of death. Because Qymaen is no ordinary man. He has become more than Kaleesh, more than warrior. He is the promise of vengeance made flesh, and vengeance does not drown easily. The currents drag him down into darkness. The cold hits first, sharper than any blade, piercing his lungs, freezing the blood in his veins. Salt fills his mouth, bitter, stinging, stealing what little breath remains. He kicks, claws, but the ocean is merciless. The weight of shattered metal drags him deeper, pressing down, crushing. The light above fades to a faint, mocking shimmer. The world narrows to blackness, pressure, and silence. And then, in that silence, something else stirs. A voice not his own, a whisper in the dark. Not words, but intent. Not mercy, but opportunity. He should die, it says. By all rights, he should join the countless warriors who have fallen before him, but death is not always the end. Sometimes, it is only the beginning of something crueler. Hands. No, not hands. Machines. Cold, unyielding, mechanical arms reach into the blackness. They seize his broken body, clamp down with merciless grip, drag him from the ocean's grasp. The water churns with bubbles, then stills. The surface above lies calm once more, as if nothing had ever disturbed it. But Qymaen is gone, taken. You do not see where they take him. You only know that the ocean did not claim him, though it should have. You only know that when he rises again, he will not be the man who fell. He will be something else entirely. Days later, whispers ripple through the Kaleesh like wind through bone chimes. Qymaen is dead, they say. No one could survive such a fall. Others say his spirit has risen, carried by the ancestors into the stars. Still others swear they've seen shadows in the night, ships that do not bear Huk markings, machines that move too smoothly, eyes that glow red in the dark. You do not know which story to believe, but you know this: Qymaen's story is not over. Because the galaxy does not let heroes rest, and it does not let monsters die. That's why it sucked to be Kaleesh. Because even when fate tried to end you, destiny found ways to drag you deeper into the fire. The night after the crash, you dream. In the dream, you see him, not as he was, but as something broken, something half-formed. His body lies open on a cold table of steel, his chest cracked, his limbs mangled, his breath rattling like wind through rusted pipes. Figures loom over him, faceless, their hands stained with oil instead of blood. They whisper in languages you do not know, their words sharp, surgical. You want to wake, but you cannot. You are forced to watch as the knives descend, as the bone is peeled away, as the flesh is replaced with steel. The dream tastes of iron, of smoke, of inevitability. You wake gasping, but the image clings to you, sharp and heavy, and in your gut you know it was no dream. It was a vision. A glimpse of what is happening, somewhere far beyond your reach. Qymaen should have died in the ocean, but he didn't. The galaxy had other plans, plans written not in blood, but in circuits and wires, in steel and hatred. And as you look out across the waves, the same waves that swallowed him, you feel the wind shift colder. You feel the first tremors of something greater than war, a storm unlike any you have known. Because Qymaen Jai Sheelal has been taken, and when he returns, he will not be the same. The fire has not gone out. It has only been fed new fuel. And in the silence that follows, you hear the faintest echo, carried on the sea breeze like a whisper of metal lungs, a cough. You open your eyes to light, not the warm light of fire, not the golden blaze of dawn. This light is pale, sterile, sharp as knives. It hums above you in steady rhythm, glaring down from a ceiling you do not recognize. You try to move, but your body does not answer. Straps bite into your wrists, your chest, your legs. Cold steel cradles you, unyielding beneath your back. The air tastes of oil and burnt metal, laced with the sour tang of chemicals. Somewhere close, a machine ticks in steady beats, like a false heart. You hear voices, not the guttural cries of warriors, not the familiar tones of your people. These voices are calm, precise, speaking languages filled with numbers and terms you do not understand. Their words do not carry the cadence of prayer or chant. They carry the rhythm of dissection, The first touch comes as fire. A blade glides across your flesh, but not like a weapon in battle. This is slower, colder, deliberate. You want to scream, to thrash, to demand why, but your throat is dry, your lungs heavy, your body pinned. The pain blooms hot, then fades into numbness, replaced by the alien chill of machinery. You smell yourself burning, the acrid stench of seared flesh mingling with the sharper tang of solder and ozone. They peel you open piece by piece, a rib removed here, a tendon severed there. The sound is obscene, wet tearing followed by the hiss of cauterization, the whir of drills, the snap of bone. You taste iron on your tongue, thick and metallic, though you cannot tell if it is blood or phantom. The hands that work upon you are gloved, efficient, unshaking. They do not flinch at your suffering. They do not see you as man. They see you as raw material. Every piece of you that was Kaleesh is stripped away. The arms that once held your spear, gone. The legs that carried you across battlefields, sawn apart. The chest that held your breath, your heart. Your laughter, your rage, pried open, rearranged, replaced. In their place, cold alloy. Joints that click, servos that whine, pistons that hiss. They carve you into something unrecognizable, a body that responds not with warmth but with mechanical precision. And through it all, you remain conscious. Not fully, but enough. Enough to hear the hiss of hydraulics, the clatter of tools, the muttered satisfaction of your captors. Enough to feel the weight of your own body disappearing beneath you. You drift in and out of darkness, pulled under by waves of pain, only to surface again to new sounds, new smells, new mutilations. When they are done, silence falls. You feel heavier, wrong, as though the very air presses differently against your skin. But it is not skin anymore. You can sense it. The absence, the flesh that once tied you to your people, your planet, your ancestors, has been stolen. In its place, armor, plates that do not breathe, limbs that do not feel, a cage where once there was a body. You sleep, or perhaps you die for a while. Time dissolves, then, breath, not yours, not natural, a ragged hiss, mechanical, forced, air pumps into your chest, rattling, catching. Your eyes snap open. The light above is harsher now, glaring against the lenses they have placed over your sight. Everything is too sharp, edges outlined in cruel clarity. You hear the whir of your own body, the subtle churn of gears beneath your skin, the faint electric crackle where nerves used to be. You lift your hand, or what remains of it. Metal claws flex where fingers once were. They gleam under the sterile light, each movement accompanied by a low, grating hum. You should feel horror. You should weep for what has been stolen. But the tears will not come. The ducts are gone, carved out with the rest of your flesh. Even grief has been replaced. You rise slowly from the table. Your new limbs groan, heavy and unbalanced. The weight drags at you, pulling you down, but the servos adjust, stabilizing you. With each step, you feel less like a man relearning how to walk, and more like a weapon being tested. The floor echoes beneath your talons. Your breath rattles in mechanical coughs, sharp and wet, a reminder that some fragments of your body still remain inside this machine, enough to keep you alive, enough to make you suffer. In the reflection of a steel panel, you see yourself for the first time. The bone mask remains, fused into the new face, its hollow eyes staring back at you. But the body beneath it is unrecognizable. Metal plates cover your chest, pistons line your arms, cables pulse where veins once ran. Half living, half machine, entirely other. Qymaen Sheelal is gone. What stands in his place is something colder, something designed, something cruel. That's why it sucked to be Qymaen, because even death was stolen from you, replaced with a fate worse than any grave. The voices return, their tone now triumphant. They call you something new, not Qymaen, not Kaleesh, general, warlord, weapon. Their words fall against your ears like chains, clinking, binding you to a destiny you never asked for. They speak of armies, of conquest, of vengeance given form. They do not ask what you want. They assume, they command, they own. Inside you, rage builds. It should have been enough to let you die, to rest in the ocean, carried to your ancestors. But no, they dragged you back, remade you, reshaped you into something monstrous. And now they expect you to kneel. You cough again, the sound metallic, broken. Your lungs rattle with the effort. The figures around you chuckle softly, dismissing it as an imperfection, a flaw in the design. They do not understand what it truly is. not weakness, not failure. It is reminder that inside this machine, a man still burns, a man whose fury has not been extinguished. You clench your claws, the metal scraping against itself with a screech that cuts through the chamber. Sparks leap. The sound makes your captors flinch for the first time. You see their eyes dart, their calm cracking, and you realize something important. You are stronger than they think, stronger than they could ever imagine. You may be their creation, but you will not be their slave. The chamber falls into silence again, the sterile light glaring down, the scent of oil heavy in your lungs. You breathe, ragged and mechanical, but alive. Against all odds, against fate, against the ocean itself, you have risen. And yet, as you stand there, surrounded by droids and shadows, you feel it settle over you. The truth. You are no longer Kaleesh, no longer Qymaen. You are something else now, something that does not belong fully to the living or the dead, and the galaxy is not ready for what you will become. The door hisses open, cold air rushing in. Beyond it lies darkness, deeper and wider than you have ever known. A voice calls you forward, commanding, eager, and as you take your first steps into that dark, the cough rattles through your chest once more. Not weakness, not imperfection, a promise that one day the galaxy will hear it, and they will learn to fear the sound. You hear it before you see him, a cough, not the cough of sickness, not the fragile rasp of an old man's lungs, but a jagged mechanical rattle. It shudders through the air like a broken engine trying to roar to life, wet and metallic, catching on itself. It echoes down the sterile halls, bouncing against steel walls, until it feels less like sound and more like the presence of something wrong, something unnatural. You close your eyes and for a moment you almost believe it is the ocean again, drowning him, dragging him down into the depths. But when you open them, you know the truth. Qymaen Jai Sheelal did not drown. He was reborn. The figure steps into the light, taller than any Kaleesh should stand. His body is a prison of metal and wires, a cage that breathes, rattles, hisses. His claws scrape against the floor with each step, sparks flicking up like fireflies. Armor plates gleam under the glow, polished yet sharp, as if every piece was meant to cut. His chest rises and falls with mechanical effort. Every intake a rasp, every exhale a cough that shakes his frame. His head tilts forward, bone mask fused into metal, its hollow eyes now burning yellow with a fury that does not fade. He is no longer the man you knew, no longer the warrior of Kalee, no longer Qymaen. He is something else, something worse, something born of betrayal and fire. They call him General Grievous. The name slithers through the air, unfamiliar yet heavy with intent. General, as though to honor his skill. Grievous, as though to name his curse. The word tastes bitter on your tongue, sharp as glass, but it fits. It fits the cough, the rage, the way his gaze pierces through you like a blade drawn too close to the skin. He does not look at you as he once did. He does not see kin or ally or even tribe. He sees everything through the lens of vengeance, and at the center of that vengeance, always, yielding, is the Jedi. The yellow in his eyes is not natural. It burns with something deeper, something darker, the mark of a man who has stared into hatred until it swallowed him whole. You feel it radiating from him like heat, pressing against your chest, filling the air with a weight that makes it hard to breathe. When he speaks, his voice is low, guttural, dragged across broken metal, yet carrying the strength of someone who has lost everything and refuses to let it go. They judged us, they condemned us, they will pay. The words echo, bouncing against steel walls, vibrating in your bones. And in that instant, you understand. His war is no longer just for Kalee. His war is against the galaxy that betrayed him, against the Jedi who branded his people criminals while siding with slavers, against anyone who dares to look at him and see only the monster they forced him to become. You remember the Qymaen who once swore to protect children from chains, who once prayed the galaxy might listen. That man is gone, burned away in fire and steel. What remains is a weapon sharpened by hate, and yet deep inside you wonder, does some fragment of him still survive, or has the mask consumed him completely? He moves to the training hall. The droids scatter, obedient, precise, their glowing eyes blinking in unison. He does not need them. His claws flex, unfolding, shifting, revealing hidden joints and extensions. One arm splits into two, and then again, until 4 limbs extend outward, each capable of wielding a weapon. The sound of metal unfolding is like bones cracking, sickening, and final. He raises a lightsaber, stolen, not earned. Its green glow hums against his armor, casting long shadows. Then another ignites, blue and sharp, filling the chamber with clashing color. He moves, faster than your eyes can follow. Blades slash, spin, whirl in arcs of lightning. Sparks fly as they cut through practice droids, slicing them into scrap before they can even raise their blasters. The hum of sabers fills the air, layered over the hiss of his breath, the rattle of his cough, the pounding of your own heart. Pieces of metal rain across the floor, hot enough to burn your skin when they land near your feet. He does not stop. He does not slow. Every movement is precise, ruthless, beautiful in its brutality. This is no longer the spear of a Kaleesh warrior, carved from wood and bone. This is something deadlier, something colder, and with each strike, each kill, his hatred sharpens. He fights not for glory, not for survival, but for vengeance. You hear the refrain in your mind, bitter as ash. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because every time they looked away, every time they judged wrongly, they forged something that would one day come to kill them. Grievous lowers his sabers at last. The training hall is silent, littered with the remains of droids still twitching with sparks. He coughs again, wet and broken, the sound rattling in his chest like a drum with a torn skin. The figures in the shadows clap politely, voices smooth, praising their weapon, their creation. But you see what? They do not. You see the truth. The cough is not weakness. It is reminder. It is the ghost of Qymaen, still rattling inside, reminding the galaxy that this monster was once a man. He turns, his yellow eyes catching yours. For the briefest moment, you see something behind them. Not recognition, not mercy, but a memory, a flicker of the man who once fought to protect his people. It is gone in an instant, smothered beneath rage, but you felt it, and it chills you more than his blades ever could. The chamber doors hiss open. Beyond them lies a galaxy waiting, armies to command, wars to fight, Jedi to slaughter. Grievous steps forward, each clang of his metal feet echoing like a funeral drum. He does not look back. He does not need to. The path ahead is clear, carved in vengeance, fueled by hatred. And as he vanishes into the dark, you hear the cough once more, louder, angrier, hungrier, a sound that will one day echo across battlefields, across planets, across the very heart of the Republic, a sound that will make Jedi Masters tremble, that will haunt the dreams of Padawans, that will mark the arrival of death. The birth of Grievous is complete, but births are only beginnings, and this beginning does not end in silence, it ends in war. The silence before battle feels heavier than the clash itself. You stand in the dark, the air stale and electric, filled with the quiet hum of machines. Dust drifts from the ceiling in lazy spirals, each grain catching the faint glow of emergency lights. You can hear them breathing, the Jedi who came here to hunt, their voices hushed, their footsteps careful, their confidence hidden behind calm expressions. They believe themselves predators. They believe themselves righteous, but they do not yet understand where they stand. Then, you hear it, a cough, wet, metallic, broken. It rattles through the chamber like a death rattle dragged from a corpse, too stubborn to lie still. The Jedi freeze. One of them turns his head, eyes narrowing into the shadows. You feel their unease bloom, faint but real, seeping through their practiced composure. They've heard rumors, whispers of a monster that stalks the separatist ranks. But this is the first time they hear him for themselves, the first time they taste the reality of their fear. The shadows shift. You see him move, tall, skeletal, wrapped in armor that gleams faintly against the dim light. Each step is heavy, deliberate, claws scraping sparks across the metal floor. His breath hisses in ragged bursts, followed by the cough again, a sound that should signal weakness but instead announces inevitability. And then you see them, his eyes, yellow, burning, alive with a hatred so deep it seems to glow from within. They lock onto the Jedi, and the room feels colder. He does not rush. He savors the silence, savors their discomfort, and then, with emotion almost too fast to follow, he unfurls. Limbs split, joints extend, and in his claws appear 4 stolen weapons, lightsabers, each one looted from a corpse. Blue, green, violet. Their hum fills the chamber, sharp and shrill, overlapping into a chorus of death. The colors flicker across his armor, painting him in shades of ghostly fire. He spins them once, casually, the blades whirling in blurs of light that carve glowing trails through the air. The Jedi hesitate. That hesitation is everything. You can feel it crackle in the air, sharp as ozone. Their training tells them to be calm, to stand their ground. But their hearts pound faster, their hands tighten around their hilts, their breath quickens despite discipline. For the first time, they do not face a Sith, nor a soldier, nor a beast. They face something unnatural, something crafted, something born of vengeance. Grievous tilts his head. The bone mask fused to his face grins without smiling, its hollow eyes burning with mockery. His voice grinds low, distorted by the machine that keeps him alive. Jedi, he coughs, the sound wet, hacking, before he growls the rest. Your lightsabers will make fine trophies. The Jedi move first. They always do. Blue and green ignite, cutting arcs through the air as two of them charge, their blades humming in harmony. Their footsteps ring against the steel, their battle cries cutting the silence. They strike high, low, precise. And for a heartbeat, you believe they might succeed. But then he moves. The four blades whirl in perfect rhythm, intercepting every strike. Sparks fly where saber meets saber, the room exploding in flashes of color. The sound is overwhelming. Hums clashing, grinding, screaming, layered over his coughs and the screech of metal feet dragging across the floor. His body spins like a storm, limbs bending at unnatural angles, arms extending further than any human's shoulder. His sabers strike from impossible directions, high and low, left and right, too fast, too many. One Jedi staggers back, cloak sliced open, the fabric still smoldering where the blade passed inches from flesh. Another barely blocks a strike, the impact jarring through his arms, his teeth gritting as sparks shower his face. Their calm is broken now. Their fear is visible, and Grievous feeds on it. He presses forward, every strike harder than the last. His claws scrape across the floor, his sabers screech in violent arcs, his cough punctuates each assault like a drumbeat of inevitability. His laughter, low and guttural, mixes with the sound. The Jedi retreat step by step, their formation faltering, and that's when you feel it, his satisfaction. For him, their fear is music, their hesitation is harmony, their screams will be the crescendo. A third Jedi leaps forward, flipping high, saber raised to strike from above. For a moment his silhouette glows against the sparking chamber lights, a figure of grace and defiance. But Grievous is faster. One clawed hand shoots upward, catching the Jedi mid-air. His talons clamp down, the sound of bone cracking sharp as glass breaking. The Jedi screams, the saber slipping from his grip, extinguishing as it falls. Grievous slams him into the ground with a force that rattles the chamber. Silence follows, broken only by a cough. Three remain. Their eyes widen, their stances falter. They fight harder now, desperation replacing discipline. Blades crash again, the air filled with searing light and burning ozone. But it is not enough. His sabers overwhelm them, each strike heavier, faster, more relentless. He is not dueling. He is hunting. One Jedi falls with a blade through the chest. The saber pierces clean, the glow shining out through his back before extinguishing. Grievous twists the weapon free, and the body crumples. Another tries to run, but a clawed foot slams down, pinning his leg. The scream cuts short as a saber arcs cleanly through his neck. The last one remains, trembling, his saber raised in shaking hands. His lips move silently, perhaps prayer, perhaps curse. Grievous steps closer, sabers spinning lazily now, mocking. He tilts his head, coughs once more, then strikes. Four blades descend as one. When the silence returns, it is broken only by the hum of four sabers held high in triumph. Grievous turns, cloak billowing, the weapons of the dead hanging like jewels of conquest. His cough rattles again, echoing in the chamber like the breath of death itself. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because in their arrogance, they believed monsters could only be Sith. They never imagined the galaxy would forge something worse. Grievous deactivates the sabers, clipping them to his belt among dozens of others. His collection grows, his legend begins. The room reeks of smoke and ozone, of blood gone cold, of fear still clinging to the walls. The droids cheer mechanically, their voices hollow, but their praise means nothing. He knows the truth. Only the dead speak honestly, and tonight, the dead scream his name. The doors hiss open. Beyond lies another battlefield, another hunt, another chance to feed his hatred. He does not pause. He does not look back. He strides into the dark, sabers rattling against his armor like trophies, cough shaking his frame like thunder, and as the chamber falls silent again, you realize, the truth, this was only the beginning. The galaxy has no idea what hunts them now. The first thing you hear is the hum. It's faint at first, barely more than a whisper, but it grows as he moves. A chorus of stolen voices, the glow of lightsabers that once belonged to Jedi Knights, now dangling lifelessly from his cloak. Each crystal hums differently, its frequency a note in a dirge. Blue, green, violet, once colors of guardianship, of peace, now reduced to trophies. They rattle against his armor when he walks, a collection of ghosts that will never find rest. You can almost feel the vibration against your chest, low and unending, as though the sabers themselves mourn their fallen wielders. But to him, it is not mourning. It is music, the sound of triumph, the sound of fear made permanent. Every duel ends the same. A Jedi slain, another weapon added to his collection. He hunts them across the galaxy. From forgotten temples on desert worlds to rain-soaked jungles where the air tastes like rot and moss, his shadow stretches longer with each kill. You follow him in your mind's eye. See the cloaked figure standing at the edge of a battlefield, cloak billowing, eyes burning yellow. You hear the cough, rattling, broken, echoing across the stone corridors of ancient ruins. You see the Jedi hesitate, always hesitate. Because when Grievous appears, hesitation is death. He moves with speed that defies flesh. 4 blades ignite in blinding arcs, filling the air with ozone and heat. His claws scrape sparks from the floor as he charges, his body spinning like a cyclone of light and metal. The Jedi defend, but defense is meaningless against a storm. Their strikes glance off his armor, their footwork falters against his reach. His sabers descend from every angle, high, low, sideways, backward, all at once. He overwhelms, not with elegance, but with inevitability. You hear the clash, the screech of blade against blade, the sparks raining across stone. You smell the ozone, thick in the air, acrid and sharp, burning your throat as the fight drags on. Sweat stings your eyes, your grip weakens, and you realize this is how it always ends, not with a sudden strike, not with some grand betrayal, but with exhaustion, with inevitability, and then the silence. A saber extinguished, a body falls. He does not speak as he bends down to take their weapon. He does not gloat. He does not mourn. He clips the lightsaber to his cloak, where it joins the others, rattling softly like bones in a wind chime. The sound lingers long after he leaves, echoing in the halls, haunting anyone foolish enough to still be alive to hear it. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi, because every blade you carried was a promise to protect life, and when you failed, it became nothing more than an ornament on the cloak of the monster who killed you. You see the fear spreading now. Across the Republic, whispers grow louder. Jedi vanish on patrol. Knights never return from missions. Entire squads are found slaughtered, their sabers gone, their stories erased. Even among the Council, unease builds. Who is this creature? What is he? They hear the reports of a towering machine, eyes burning with rage, cough rattling like broken lungs, blades whirling in impossible numbers. Some dismiss it as exaggeration, but others know better. Because fear does not exaggerate. Fear only exaggerates the truth you refuse to face. And for Grievous, fear is the weapon sharper than any saber. He does not need to kill every Jedi. He only needs them to doubt, to hesitate, to hear the cough echo in their dreams, to wonder if today is the day their saber is clipped to his cloak. He turns their greatest symbol of pride into their greatest shame. You walk with him into one more battle. The ground shakes beneath his metal feet, each step a drumbeat of inevitability. The Jedi await, cloaks billowing, sabers ready, their eyes filled with courage they don't quite feel. He tilts his head, coughs, ignites 4 sabers at once. The hum fills the air, drowning out even the sound of their breath, and for just a heartbeat, you see it in their faces. The flicker of doubt. He charges. The clash is thunder. Sparks rain like meteors. Blades cut arcs of light into the night. One Jedi cries out, her saber knocked from her hand, cut cleanly in two by a whirling green blade. Another leaps high, only to be swatted down by claws that grip like vices. The last stands defiant, saber raised, eyes fierce, but even fierce eyes close when the strike comes too fast to block. And when the silence returns, 3 new sabers hum softly from his cloak. He coughs again, long and rattling, the sound reverberating in the still air. It does not sound like weakness. It sounds like inevitability. The Jedi are dying, one by one. Their weapons hum against his armor, a symphony of ghosts, and the galaxy trembles at the sound. But Grievous does not stop. He cannot stop, because behind every kill, behind every trophy, behind every cough, there is still a memory. A man stripped of flesh, betrayed by the galaxy, reforged into a monster. A man who once prayed for justice and found only silence. That rage has no end. That hatred has no bottom. The collection grows heavier. His cloak rattles louder. And somewhere in the distance, the council finally begins to whisper his name. General Grievous, the Jedi Hunter. And as his ship descends onto the next battlefield, engines howling like thunder, you realize the truth. The Republic has not yet seen war. They have only seen the beginning of a nightmare. Because Grievous does not fight battles, he collects them. You see him on the bridge of a separatist warship. The air is cold, recycled, thick with the scent of ozone and oil. Tactical droids chatter at consoles, their voices clipped and precise. Hollow projectors flicker with maps of the galaxy, lines of attack drawn like scars across star systems. Grievous towers above them, his cloak brushing the floor, his claws tapping impatiently against the durasteel railing. His cough interrupts the sterile hum of machinery, a reminder that beneath all the metal, something alive still festers. He slams a claw down, sparks scattering. His voice grinds low, distorted but commanding. Strike here. Burn them. Leave nothing. The droids nod, mechanical voices answering in unison. And just like that, fleets move. Armies march. Planets fall. His words shape the course of the war, his rage charting its map. He has become not only a killer, but a symbol. You imagine the Republic officers, sleepless, staring at star charts, knowing wherever they send their fleets. His shadow waits. You imagine the council, cloaked in silence, whispering among themselves. They underestimated him once. They will not again. But even as they whisper, you wonder, do they realize the truth? That they are not just fighting droids. They are fighting the vengeance of a man they betrayed, bound into steel and unleashed without mercy. The droid armies quake the ground as they march again, a sound that feels eternal. You walk among their ranks in your mind, hearing the grind of servos, the hiss of hydraulics, the endless echo of Roger, Roger. The air is dry, filled with dust kicked up by thousands of identical feet. You feel the vibration in your bones, in your teeth, in your skull. You realize this is not just war. This is industrial death, manufactured and deployed on a scale the galaxy has never seen. And at the center of it all, he coughs. It rattles through his chest, through his mask, through his army. The droids do not flinch. They do not care. But his enemies hear it, and it chills their blood. Because the cough does not sound like weakness. It sounds like inevitability. It sounds like the last thing you'll hear before the sabers ignite. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because no matter how many battles you fought, no matter how many soldiers you led, you knew that somewhere out there he was waiting, his cloak heavy with sabers, his army endless, his cough echoing in the dark. But the galaxy does not know everything yet. They do not know that his rage is not infinite. They do not see the cracks forming in his armor, the strain in his body, the way each breath rattles harder than the last. They see only the warlord, the nightmare, the fist of the separatists. They do not see the man who is slowly breaking beneath the weight of steel. For now, he is invincible. For now, he is legend. For now, he is the separatist warlord. But legends always face their reckoning. And as the stars shift above, fleets moving into place for another campaign, you feel it coming. A battle unlike any other, a massacre that will echo across the galaxy. A world named Hypori, where Jedi will learn what it truly means to face the monster they helped create. The first thing you feel is the dust. It clings to your tongue, dry and bitter. coating your throat until every breath feels like swallowing sand. The air is thick with it, stirred up by the wreckage scattered across the battlefield. Burned-out transports, twisted starfighters, shattered droids, all half buried in the endless dunes of Hypori. The sun beats down mercilessly, a white furnace in the sky, making the air shimmer, warping the horizon. Sweat stings your eyes, slides down your neck, and soaks into your robes. You taste salt, dust, and fear, because you are not alone. You hear them first, the survivors, Jedi. Their voices are low, urgent, ragged from exhaustion. They move cautiously through the ruins, sabers ignited, their glow hazy in the swirling dust. Clones stagger behind them, their armor scorched, their rifles trembling in tired hands. Their formation is broken, their morale cracked. They thought they would land here in triumph, cutting through droids with ease. But the Separatist war machine had other plans. The battlefield is a graveyard now, and every Jedi left standing knows it. The silence grows heavier. Every step echoes too loudly. Every breath feels like it might betray you. And then you hear it, a cough, metallic, wet, jagged. It rattles through the ruins, bouncing off broken hulls, reverberating in the dust-filled air. It is not the cough of weakness. It is the cough of inevitability, a sound that makes your stomach twist, your hands tighten on your saber hilt. The Jedi freeze, their eyes flicking to the shadows. The clones glance at one another nervously, their helmets hiding the fear in their faces but not the tremor in their stances. Another cough, closer this time, then silence. You strain your ears. Nothing. Only the distant groan of metal shifting under the heat, only the faint hum of sabers held too tightly. And then he moves. From the cage, a blur of motion, he leaps, impossibly fast, impossibly high, his cloak whipping like wings of shadow. His claws dig into metal, tearing deep grooves into the hull of a starship as he lands, the sound shrieking across the battlefield. Dust erupts in a choking cloud, and through it you see them, 4 blades igniting at once, blue, green, violet. Their glow slices through the haze like lightning. General Grievous has arrived. He doesn't wait. He doesn't speak. He attacks. His sabers whirl in furious arcs, a storm of light and death. The first Jedi barely has time to lift his blade before the strike comes. Sparks shower as his defense falters, and then the second strike crashes down, heavier, faster, relentless. The Jedi staggers back, robe torn, saber trembling, eyes wide with fear. The others move in to cover him, their sabers clashing against Grievous's storm, but they are already overwhelmed. His limbs bend at unnatural angles, his strikes come from impossible directions. Every block leads to another strike, every parry to another assault. The air is filled with the scream of sabers, the hiss of sparks, the crash of claws against durasteel. You can smell the ozone, sharp and bitter, burning the back of your throat. You can hear the ragged breathing of the Jedi, the mechanical rasp of Grievous, the endless cough punctuating his strikes like a drumbeat of doom. One Jedi falls. His scream is cut short as a saber pierces his chest, the glow burning bright for an instant before extinguishing. Another leaps to avenge him, striking down with all her strength, but Grievous twists, claws scraping, sabers spinning. And in a blur of motion she is cut down, her body crumpling into the dust. The clones fire, blasters cracking, the smell of scorched air filling your nostrils. Bolts streak through the haze, striking against his armor, sparking harmlessly. He turns, cloak swirling, sabers deflecting with impossible precision. Every bolt is sent back, burning through clone armor, dropping them one by one. Their screams join the chaos, high and panicked, echoing across the wreckage. And still he coughs. The Jedi regroup, backs pressed together, sabers raised. Their voices are tense, hurried, trying to steady themselves. We can take him. Hold the line. But you hear the doubt beneath the words. You feel it in their trembling grips, see it in their darting eyes. They know the truth. This is not a duel. This is slaughter. Grievous circles them, claws scraping across the wreckage, sparks following his every step. His sabers hum in different pitches, a dissonant symphony of death. His eyes burn yellow, unblinking, fixed on his prey. He lunges, sabers crashing down in a whirlwind. Their blades clash in desperate defense, the impact rattling their bones, driving them back. Dust whirls around them, choking, blinding, And in that chaos, one more Jedi falls, her saber spinning out of her grasp as his claws tear through her chest. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi, because every hour you spent training, every lesson you endured, every hope you clung to meant nothing when the monster in the shadows struck faster than you could think, harder than you could endure. The survivors falter. Fear breaks through discipline. One stumbles back, another cries out, "We can't win this!" And for a moment, you believe him. The Jedi, the legends of the galaxy, the protectors of peace, reduced to prey before a machine's fury. Grievous laughs. It is not the laugh of joy, not even the laugh of cruelty. It is a guttural rasp, broken by coughs, distorted by machinery. It sounds more like a growl, more like death itself mocking those who still dare to breathe. His sabers whirl faster, his claws scrape louder, his strikes fall heavier. Bodies litter the battlefield now. Jedi and clone alike, their sabers extinguished, their stories ended. The dust is thick with blood, the air heavy with smoke, and still he hunts. Tireless, merciless. You feel it now, the shift. This is not just a victory. This is a message. Hipori becomes legend, not because the Jedi fought, but because they were broken. Entire squads of warriors left shattered in the dust, their sabers stripped, their names carved into Grievous's legend. The survivors scatter, retreating into the wreckage, desperate to live another moment. Their breaths are ragged, their robes torn, their faces pale with terror. Grievous stalks after them, each cough echoing, each step deliberate, savoring the chase. He is not just killing them, he is teaching them fear, and the galaxy will hear it. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi, because Hipori became the whisper in every council chamber, the nightmare in every Padawan's dream. The place where Jedi did not stand as heroes, but fell as prey. The sun dips lower, casting long shadows across the wreckage. Grievous stands among the fallen, cloak heavy with sabers, eyes burning, cough rattling. The survivors flee into the horizon, broken, humiliated. They will live, but their shame will follow them forever. And as the dust settles, you realize the truth. Hipori is not the end. It is only the beginning, because where fear spreads, power grows. And Grievous's name is now written in fear. The first time you hear his name, it comes as a whisper, not shouted on the battlefield, not declared in triumph, whispered like a curse, like a story told by firelight. Grievous. The word slides through the air like cold breath down your neck. You feel it settle heavy in your chest, as though even speaking it aloud risks summoning him. And in time, the galaxy learns to whisper too. Children in the Republic tremble at the name. In the outer systems, where night stretches long and shadows grow thick, they pull their blankets tighter when the wind howls. They whisper warnings to each other in the dark. Stay close to the light. Stay near the fire. Don't wander too far, or Grievous will come for you. The name is a story parents tell to keep their children safe, but it carries more than fable. It carries truth, because somewhere out there, in the dark between stars, a cough rattles, wet and broken, and every whisper feels like it could be the last thing you hear before the blades ignite. To his enemies, he is not a man. He is not even a machine. He is death, given claws and fury, a predator too cunning to be beast, too merciless to be human. You hear his cough echo across war-torn fields, bouncing through smoke-filled ruins. It rattles your bones, makes your throat tighten. It is not weakness, it is promise. Everywhere he goes, the shadows seem to grow deeper. Ships vanish into hyperspace, never arriving. Outposts fall silent, their lights extinguished. Patrols of Jedi Knights, gone, their sabers clipped to his cloak, rattling like bones in the wind. You see the aftermaths, smoldering wrecks, the air heavy with the stink of burned metal and scorched flesh, walls scorched with saber marks, blood sprayed across durasteel floors. No survivors, only silence, and the faint scrape of claws dragging across steel. The galaxy begins to fear the silence, because silence means he has already been there. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi, because when your name carried weight, when your blade was supposed to be hope, all it became was another trophy jangling against the monster's armor. On Coruscant, the whispers grow louder. Senators debate in chambers filled with golden light, their voices trembling. Some call him an exaggeration, a separatist phantom meant to scare the Republic into submission. Others bring evidence, recordings of battles, images of shattered bodies, audio of the cough. The room falls silent when it plays. The sound, sharp, jagged, too real to dismiss. A cough does not lie. A cough cannot be fabricated. It is the sound of something alive, something broken, something furious, and they know then, the monster is real. In the lower levels of the Republic, fear becomes rumor, and rumor becomes gospel. Street vendors carve crude masks to sell to children, bone white with hollow eyes. Soldiers etch his name onto their rifles as if to ward off the day they will face him. And in the dreams of Padawans, his shadow looms larger than any Sith, because Sith can be reasoned with, understood, balanced by the Force. But Grievous is chaos in the shape of a warrior. You hear stories that grow darker with every retelling. Some say he cannot die, that no blade can pierce his armor, no fire can burn him. Others swear he has no heart, only machines inside, churning endlessly. Some whisper that he steals the souls of Jedi, not just their sabers, binding their spirits to his cloak so that their screams follow him into battle. And though you know rumor distorts, you cannot deny that when you close your eyes, you almost hear those screams carried in the cough. But the truth is worse than the stories. The truth is simpler. He kills because he can, because every Jedi who falls brings him closer to vengeance, because every saber on his cloak is proof that the galaxy was wrong to ever dismiss him. You imagine standing in the dark of a separatist ship, the walls vibrating with the hum of engines, the lights flicker, shadows stretch, and then you hear it, tap, tap, scrape, the sound of claws dragging across metal. A cough follows, wet and broken, echoing down the corridor. Your saber ignites, the blue glow steady, your breath shallow, and then the sabers ignite in return, 4 of them, green and blue, their hums dissonant, their glow painting the walls in ghostly fire. You see the eyes then, yellow, unblinking, burning through the dark, and you know, with certainty, you will not leave this ship alive. That is the legend of Grievous. He does not need to stand in the light. He does not need to announce himself with speeches or banners. His presence lingers in shadows, in silence, in the cough that echoes long after the battle ends. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi, because the Force could guide you, could strengthen you, could give you vision of what was to come, but it could not protect you from inevitability. And Grievous was inevitability, given form. The monster grows, his shadow spreads, systems fall, fleets crumble, Jedi vanish, and still he coughs, a sound that rattles the stars, a reminder that somewhere out there, vengeance still breathes. But shadows cannot last forever. Every monster in the dark eventually steps into the light, and when Grievous does, the galaxy itself will tremble, because whispers will no longer be enough. The Republic will not just fear him, they will see him, they will feel him, they will bleed. The chamber is too quiet. You feel it in your chest, the stillness that does not bring peace but dread. The Jedi Council sits in a circle, robes heavy, faces grim, their voices lowered to whispers. Golden light filters down from high windows, catching dust motes that drift lazily in the air. The hum of Coruscant's endless traffic seeps faintly through the walls, but it does nothing to ease the silence here. For once, the city's noise feels like a veil, hiding something darker beneath. The masters speak in turns, their words chosen carefully, as if saying too much might summon the very thing they fear. General Grievous. His name hangs in the air like smoke, sharp and choking. It has become more than a name. It is a warning, a curse. The monster who leaps from shadows, whose cough echoes in dreams, whose blades never miss their mark. You hear Yoda's voice, low and grave. His words are calm, but the calm feels forced, stretched thin. Unpredictable he is. Dangerous, always. Windu's tone is sharper, a blade of frustration. Every report is the same. Squads of Jedi dead, entire fleets scattered, and the more we strike at him, the stronger his legend grows. Around them, others murmur, their voices trembling despite centuries of training. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because you could sit in the highest tower of Coruscant, cloaked in wisdom and tradition, and still feel powerless before the cough of a monster forged from your own failures. You close your eyes and see it. The stories they dare not voice aloud. The ambush on Hypori, the bodies left in dust, the sound of sabers extinguished forever. You taste the ash of burned wreckage, the iron of spilled blood. You smell the bitter stench of ozone where sabers clashed too long, too desperately. And behind it all, you hear the cough, always the cough. The council debates strategy. Some call for more Jedi to be dispatched. Entire battalions sent to hunt the general. Others insist he cannot be fought as an enemy of flesh and blood. He must be cornered like a beast, trapped, starved of escape. But the arguments circle endlessly, each voice rising only to falter under the weight of their own doubt, because they know the truth. They have faced Sith Lords before. They have fought Mandalorians, warlords, pirates. But Grievous is different. Grievous is not bound by the rules of war, nor the bonds of the Force. He is rage given form, vengeance wrapped in steel, and he will not stop until he has ground their order into dust. You feel the desperation building, a tide rising too fast to be contained. The council chambers are supposed to be a place of clarity, of serenity. Instead, the air is thick with tension, the silence filled with unspoken fear. The masters exchange glances heavy with unvoiced truths. We are losing. And yet, in that fear, a question lingers like a thorn. If Grievous is unstoppable, why does he still cough? Reports describe it in detail. A ragged, hacking sound, metallic and broken, interrupting his battles. Troopers whisper that they've heard it echo before he strikes, that it rattles louder after every fight. Some say it is his weakness, a flaw in the machine that keeps him alive. Others dismiss it as cruelty, that the cough is no failing, but a deliberate reminder of the man he once was, echoing forever inside the monster. You sit with the thought, feel it twist in your chest, because for all his victories, for all the fear he spreads, Grievous is still breaking apart. With every battle, every strike, every duel, the machine groans under its own weight. His frame rattles, his armor scrapes, his breath catches in mechanical spasms. He is strong, yes, terrifying, yes, but also dying, slowly, inevitably. And you wonder, what if that is the secret? What if the galaxy's greatest terror is not invincible, but fragile? What if beneath the storm, there is still a man drowning, fighting against the machine that was meant to save him? The council does not speak it aloud, but you can feel it in the room, a fragile hope, trembling, barely formed, the possibility that the monster might be undone not by the Force, not by sabers, but by himself. Still, hope is not enough. Not when worlds burn, not when fleets shatter. The desperation grows heavier. You hear Windu's voice cut through the chamber like thunder. We must strike harder. If fear is his weapon, then we must show strength. Send masters, not knights. Send armies, not squads. If Grievous wants war, we will give it to him. His words are iron, but even iron bends. You hear it in the silence that follows, the hesitation in every breath. Because what if even that is not enough? That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because no matter how much strength you summoned, no matter how many sabers you ignited, you could never erase the cough echoing in your mind. Beyond the chambers, the galaxy moves. Senators argue, soldiers bleed, civilians whisper his name in fear. In separatist strongholds, his droid armies march, their footsteps rattling the ground, their orders delivered in his broken, mechanical growl. Everywhere, the war tightens like a noose, and in the shadows, the general coughs again. Louder, harsher, closer. The council rises, robes whispering a Geasul. Against the floor, their faces masks of serenity, stretched too thin. Their voices speak of plans, of strategies, of hope. But you feel the truth beneath it all. They are not guiding the war anymore. They are reacting to it. They are chasing the shadow of a monster they do not understand, one who should have died long ago but refuses to fall. The desperation clings to them as they leave. It clings to you, too. Because somewhere deep inside, you know the truth. Grievous will not stop. He will not slow. He will not rest until his vengeance is complete. And every moment the council whispers, more Jedi fall. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because wisdom and patience mean nothing when the galaxy is already on fire. As the chamber empties, the light dims, the silence grows heavy again. And in that silence, you hear it, not in the room, but in your mind. Carried like a phantom across the stars, the cough, broken, jagged, inevitable, and with it comes the chilling realization, if the Jedi do not find him soon, he will find them. You hear laughter in the dark, not the kind of laughter that warms a room or eases tension. This sound is low, deliberate, curling through the shadows like smoke. It drips with satisfaction, with cruelty, with inevitability. And though you cannot see its source, you feel it pressing against your chest, crawling up your spine, digging into the back of your skull. Darth Sidious, the phantom hand behind the war, the spider in the web, pulling strings you cannot see, and one of those strings is tied around your throat. General Grievous stands at the center of a dimly lit war room. The air is stale, thick with the stench of oil and recycled breath, tasting faintly of metal and ash. Flickering hollow projections bathe the chamber in cold blue light. Maps of the galaxy, separatist fleets, targets marked like wounds waiting to be cut open. Tactical droids stand at attention, their glowing eyes fixed, their voices sharp as they list numbers and probabilities. But above all of it, louder than droids, louder than war, is that laugh. It slithers through the comm system, distorted yet unmistakable. Sidious does not show his face. He does not need to. His presence is heavier than steel, darker than any shadow. His voice follows, hissing, measured, every word sinking deep into your bones. General Grievous, my faithful servant, the Republic quakes at your name, the Jedi tremble in your shadow, and still, there is more to be done. Grievous coughs. The sound is jagged, wet, rattling through his chest. He straightens, his metal frame towering, his yellow eyes burning. His claws dig into the console, sparks leaping beneath their pressure. The Republic will fall. The Jedi will burn. Nothing will stand in my way. His voice is a growl, mechanical, filled with fury. But Sidious laughs again, softer this time, like a blade sliding back into its sheath. Nothing, except the strings you cannot see. The words hang heavy, colder than the air, sharper than the claws in Grievous's hands. You feel it, the unease. He is power incarnate, a storm wrapped in steel, a terror whispered across the galaxy. And yet, in this moment, he is small. He is a piece on someone else's board, pushed from square to square, never free to move on his own. He commands droid legions, he slaughters Jedi, he spreads fear like wildfire. But all of it, is for another's game. That's why it sucked to be Grievous. Because you could burn 100 worlds, clip 1,000 sabers to your cloak, and still find yourself kneeling before a voice you could not strike down. The droids continue their reports, their numbers precise, their calculations perfect, but their words are meaningless compared to the silence that follows Sidious's command. Grievous coughs again, harder this time, his body shuddering, his chest rattling like a cracked engine. He slams a claw against the console, shattering it, sparks erupting in the stale air. I am no pawn, he growls, his voice breaking into a cough, weaker than he intends. His eyes blaze brighter, defiant, and yet the laugh returns. All are pawns, General. Even you. The words sting deeper than any blade. Grievous turns sharply, cloak whipping, sabers clinking against his armor like the bones of the dead. His rage fills the room, his claws gouging deep scars into the floor as he stalks. But rage cannot strike Sidious. Rage cannot silence laughter that slithers through comms and shadows. Rage is a fire, and Sidious is the hand that feeds it, stokes it, controls it. You feel the unease twist tighter. Grievous is powerful, unstoppable in battle, a nightmare made flesh and steel. But here, in this moment, he is powerless. The galaxy fears him, but he fears the strings. He remembers the ocean, the crash, the cold grip of machines dragging him back from death. He remembers the sterile light of the operating table, the surgeons cutting away his flesh, the moment his body became a cage. And he remembers who allowed it, who orchestrated it, who saw not a man, but a weapon. The banking clan played their part. The separatists played theirs. But above them all, unseen, was Sidious. Every cough, every rattle, every spasm in his chest is a reminder. He did not choose this. He did not choose to become the monster. He was made, forged, puppeteered, and yet he obeys. Because what else is there? His people are forgotten. His homeworld lies scarred. His vengeance is all that remains. And Sidious feeds that vengeance like kindling to fire, guiding it, shaping it, ensuring the blaze burns exactly where he desires. That's why it sucked to be Grievous, because the very thing that gave him strength, the hatred, the fury, the vengeance, was the very leash Sidious used to control him. The hollow projection shifts. A new map glows, red lines streaking across the galaxy, converging on worlds you recognize. The voice follows, hissing, commanding, "Strike here, scatter their fleets, kill their Jedi, leave survivors, but few. Their fear will weaken them more than death." The words settle into Grievous's mind like poison, sinking deep, festering. His claws tighten, his sabers rattle, his cough echoes. He wants to resist. He wants to shout that he is no one's servant. But the hunger for vengeance outweighs the hunger for freedom, and so he obeys. He growls his acknowledgement, voice low, broken. "As you command." Sidious laughs again, the sound fading into silence, leaving only the hum of holomaps and the rattle of Grievous's lungs. The room feels colder now, heavier. The droids resume their chatter, but their voices are meaningless. Only the silence matters. Only the strings remain. You feel the unease crawl deeper, because you know this truth. No matter how many Jedi Grievous kills, no matter how many systems he burns, he is not the master of this war. He is the instrument, the claw, the cough, the shadow sent to terrify the Republic. And one day, when Sidious no longer needs him, the strings will cut. The chamber door hisses open. Grievous storms out, cloak trailing, sabers clinking like chains. His cough follows him down the hall, loud, broken, defiant. Droids scatter before him, their metal feet clattering against the floor. The ship hums with energy, engines burning as fleets prepare to move. But beneath all of it, louder than the hum, louder than the engines, is the silence left behind by Sidious's laugh. Grievous is the warlord, the hunter, the nightmare. But in the shadows, he is also the puppet. And as his ship jumps into hyperspace, stars streaking into lines of light, you realize the cliff beneath him is getting closer. He cannot see it yet, but Sidious can. Because this war was never about Grievous. It was never about the Separatists. It was always about Sidious. And the puppet will dance until the strings are cut. The night sky burns above the jewel of the Republic. You open your eyes and see it. Coruscant, the endless city, a planet wrapped in steel and glass, lit by 1,000,000 suns of neon. But tonight, its light is not its own. Tonight, fire streaks the heavens, carving scars across the black. Explosions bloom in orbit, flashes of red and gold that paint the towers below in flickering shadow. The sound comes a heartbeat later, a low thunder that rattles windows and shakes the ground. It is not a storm of nature. It is a storm of war. You hear the screams, not from soldiers, not from Jedi, but from citizens. Millions of voices rising from the undercity, their fear rolling upward like smoke. Transports collide, ships burst into flame, durasteel towers tremble as the shockwaves ripple down. Alarms wail in every district, a chorus of panic that swallows the hum of traffic. The planet's heartbeat, once steady with commerce and routine, has become chaos. And at the center of it, leading the boldest strike of the war, is him. General Grievous. His ship descends through fire, engines screaming, claws gripping the controls. His cough rattles over the comms, echoing louder than alarms, louder than blaster fire. To the defenders below, the sound is no longer rumor, no longer whisper. It is real, and it chills their blood more than any fleet. You feel the heat as his vessel pierces the lower atmosphere, the hull glowing, the air screaming against its frame. Through the viewport, the capital of the galaxy sprawls endlessly, a sea of towers stretching higher than mountains, each one now lit by fire. Gunships streak past, clone fighters swarm in desperate defense, but Grievous's eyes burn yellow, unblinking, fixed on his prize. Palpatine, the Chancellor of the Republic. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi, because even on your homeworld, in the very heart of the Republic, you could not stop the Seos from coming. The ship crashes through its target, claws tearing into durasteel, sparks showering the grand corridors of Coruscant's governmental district. The walls groan as metal rends, fire pouring in. From the wreckage, he emerges, tall, cloaked, eyes glowing, sabers clinking like trophies. His cough rattles against the marble halls as his claws scrape deep scars into the floor. He does not pause. He does not wait. He storms forward like inevitability given form. The clones react first, rifles raised, voices sharp. "For the Republic!" Their blasters ignite the air, bolts searing the marble, scorching the walls. The scent of burning plastoid fills your nostrils, acrid and sharp, but their courage lasts only a moment. His sabers ignite. Four at once, the blades spinning into a cyclone of light. Every bolt is deflected, hurled back, clones dropping with smoking holes in their armor. The hall fills with the crack of blasters, the hum of sabers, the screams of dying men. And then you hear the clash of Jedi. Blue and green blades ignite, their glow piercing through the chaos. Masters rush to intercept, their faces grim, their stances ready. Their sabers meet his storm in a burst of sparks, the sound sharp as lightning splitting stone. They strike high, low, precise, their movements practiced, fluid, but he is faster. His limbs split, his body twists, his blades descend from impossible angles. Every parry leads to another strike, every defense breaks into retreat. The air crackles with ozone, the walls scar with deep, glowing cuts. One Jedi falters, his defense too slow. A saber cuts clean across his chest, the glow blinding before it extinguishes. Another cries out, spinning desperately, but Grievous's claw grips his throat, slamming him against the wall with a crack. His body crumples. Saber extinguished. The survivors back away, their breath heavy, their courage crumbling. Grievous coughs again, wet, jagged, and his laugh follows. Low, broken, cruel. The screams of citizens echo outside, carried through shattered windows. You hear children crying, mothers calling, soldiers shouting orders no one follows. Coruscant has never known fear like this. War was always something distant, something fought in the outer rim. But now it is here. The Republic's heart bleeds, and in the center of it all, Grievous seizes his prize. The Chancellor stands pale, cloaked in fear, yet calm enough to mask it. His guards lie broken on the floor, their weapons shattered, their bodies twisted. Grievous's claws close around Palpatine's arm, dragging him forward. His sabers rattle against his cloak, trophies clinking as he coughs in triumph. The droids swarm behind him, blasters raised, voices hollow. "Roger, Roger!" Their footsteps echo like drums, their presence sealing the Republic's shame. You feel the moment like a knife pressed against your skin. Coruscant, the jewel of the Republic, the capital of the galaxy, has been breached. The Chancellor has been taken, and the man who did it is not a Sith Lord cloaked in darkness. Not an army of faceless soldiers, but a monster who should have died in the ocean, whose cough was once dismissed as weakness. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because even after centuries of dominance, even after lifetimes of wisdom, you could not protect the very heart of the Republic from the claws of vengeance. The city burns, flames lick the towers, smoke rolls across the skyline, ships fall like meteors, their wreckage lighting the night with violent sparks. You taste ash on your tongue, bitter and dry. You feel the heat on your skin, oppressive, suffocating. The clash of sabers rings out, carried through the chaos. And beneath it all, you hear the cough again, louder, heavier, rattling like broken thunder. Grievous strides into the night, his prize in tow, his legend darker than ever. Behind him, the city screams. Above him, the war rages. Around him, fear spreads like fire. But in the silence that follows his departure, you feel it, the shift. This is no longer just a war of systems, or soldiers, or fleets. This is personal now. This is humiliation carved into the heart of the Republic. This is a wound that will not heal until blood is repaid. The Jedi will chase him. The Republic will hunt him. And in that hunt, destinies will collide. Because the capture of Palpatine is not an ending. It is the beginning of the end. The first sound you hear is breath, not the calm rhythm of a Jedi in meditation, not the steady inhale and exhale of soldiers preparing for battle. This breath is jagged, mechanical, broken. It rattles like rusted gears grinding together, wheezing through a cage of metal lungs. And then the cough follows. Wet, harsh, a thunderclap of inevitability. The walls of the hangar echo with it, bouncing the sound back until it feels like the entire world is coughing along with him. Grievous steps forward, his cloak dragging across the floor, sabers clinking against his armor like bones in a tomb. His eyes burn yellow through the haze of smoke and dust, unblinking, unmerciful. His claws scrape sparks from the durasteel as he moves, the sound sharp enough to make your teeth ache. He towers, skeletal yet massive, a storm of steel wrapped around the ember of a man. He coughs again, and the sound becomes a promise. And then the sabers ignite, 4 at once, blue, green, violet. Their glow paints the chamber in fractured color, shadows dancing wildly across the walls. The hum builds, loud, shrill, dissonant. He twirls them in his claws, faster and faster, until they blur into circles of light, a cyclone of death. The air crackles with ozone, sharp and biting, filling your nostrils, burning your throat. Sparks rain across the floor, sizzling as they die. The Jedi move. Mace Windu steps forward first, his purple blade igniting with a snap hiss that cuts through the noise. His face is carved from stone, his eyes steady, his stance unshaking. Every line of his body radiates control, discipline, and power. He circles slowly, the hum of his saber resonating deep in your chest. Obi-Wan Kenobi joins him, blue blade humming, his face calm but his eyes sharp with focus. You see the way his shoulders tighten, the way his jaw sets. He knows this fight will test him beyond anything he has faced before. Around them, other masters ignite their sabers, their colors blending into a storm of light. The silence breaks. Grievous lunges. The floor shakes beneath his charge, claws pounding like thunder. His sabers descend in a storm, faster than thought, faster than instinct. 4 blades crash against the defenses of Jedi Masters, the hangar exploding with sparks and light. The sound is deafening, screeches of sabers clashing, the growl of Grievous's breath, the echo of boots sliding across steel. Each impact rattles your bones, each clash reverberates through your chest. Mace meets him head-on, his purple blade striking with precision, every motion measured. Sparks fly as their sabers grind, the heat searing against your face. Obi-Wan dives in from the side, blue saber flashing, his strikes fluid, relentless. Grievous spins, his arms unfolding, blades whirling at impossible angles. One blocks Windu, another parries Kenobi, the others slash outward, forcing the rest of the Masters back. It is chaos, but it is also symphony. Blades clash in rhythm, footsteps pound like drums, coughs punctuate like cymbals. The hangar becomes a storm of light. Every strike a bolt of lightning, every parry a crash of thunder. And yet, beneath the fury, you see it. Every movement costs him. His body rattles with effort. His breath catches between strikes. His cough grows harsher. His sabers whirl with fury, but you hear the strain in the servos, the grind of gears wearing thin. The machine is strong, but it is breaking. The man inside is fading, suffocating beneath the weight of steel. That's why it sucked to be Grievous. Because even when you stood against Jedi Masters, even when you fought like a storm, your own body betrayed you with every breath, every cough, every shudder of weakness. Obi-Wan presses harder, his blue blade striking in steady rhythm. Each motion is precise, each step calculated, the patience of a negotiator turned into the persistence of a predator. He does not rush, does not falter. He waits, watching, studying. He sees the cough, the stagger, the crack in the storm. Mace, in contrast, strikes like fire. His blade is a blur of violet fury, hammering down with relentless power. Each strike forces Grievous back, his arms whirling desperately to keep pace. Sparks explode, metal screeches, the air fills with smoke. Grievous roars, sabers spinning faster, his claws slamming into the floor to keep balance. But his breath rattles louder, his cough shakes his frame. The other masters join in, their blades flashing, their voices silent but their eyes burning. They surround him, pushing, pressing, driving him into defense. For the first time, the storm falters. But Grievous is not finished. He twists, his cloak whipping, his claws lashing out. A master stumbles, his robes torn, his saber knocked aside. Grievous strikes low, a green blade cutting through flesh, and the Jedi falls with a scream that echoes across the hangar. The others falter for a heartbeat, grief flashing across their faces. Grievous laughs, broken, wet, cruel. His cough follows, rattling, mocking, drowning their sorrow. The storm resumes. Blades flash, sparks rain, sabers hiss. The hangar glows with heat, the walls scorched with deep gouges. The smell of burning ozone fills the air, acrid and suffocating. Sweat runs down your skin, salt stinging your lips. Your ears ring with the constant clash, your chest tight with every cough, and still, the truth lingers. Every strike. He chips away at his strength. Every clash rattles his frame. Every victory costs him more than it gives. His rage masks the weakness. His fury drives the storm, but the cracks grow wider. The cough grows louder. The storm cannot last forever. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because even when you felt the weakness, even when you saw the cracks, you could not ignore the fear. The storm was still enough to kill you. The clash crescendos. Obi-Wan strikes high, Mace strikes low, the others press from the sides. Grievous twists, parries, roars. Sparks blind you, heat sears your face, the sound rattles your skull. The floor shakes with their fury, the air crackles with lightning. For a moment you think this is the end, that the storm will break, that the monster will fall. But he coughs again, louder, harsher, rattling his frame, and with it comes a surge of fury. His sabers whirl faster than ever, his claws lash harder, his eyes burn brighter. He breaks free, driving the Jedi back with a scream that echoes through steel and stone. His body trembles, his breath falters, but his rage carries him. The battle does not end. It only pauses. The masters regroup, their faces grim, their breaths heavy. Grievous stands across from them, cloak scorched, sabers humming, cough rattling. His frame shakes, sparks flicker from his armor, but his eyes still burn. And in that silence, you feel it. The war has reached its peak. The storm has raged as far as it can. Soon, it will break, but not tonight. Tonight the storm still stands. The wind howls before you hear anything else. It rushes through the sinkholes of Utapau like a living thing, screaming across the stone walls, moaning through the jagged openings of caves and tunnels. It smells of dust, old stone, and the faint tang of rust carried from the chains and platforms that hang across the abyss. When you inhale, the air is dry, cutting your throat, stealing the moisture from your lips. You taste grit on your tongue, like the planet itself is already trying to bury you. The sinkhole stretches before you, a yawning wound in the planet's surface, its walls streaked with ancient lines of erosion, carved by wind and time. The platforms creak under your weight, metal groaning against the gale, cables straining, their vibrations humming like the low strings of some forgotten instrument. Far below, the abyss waits, black and endless, a grave that swallows both sound and light, and in the middle of it, prowling like a beast that knows it has been cornered, is him, General Grievous. He moves on all fours, claws scraping across the stone, leaving deep gouges in the rock. Sparks spit with each strike, carried away by the wind. His breath rattles, metallic, broken. Every inhale a shriek of servos, every exhale a wet cough that shakes his entire frame. The sound echoes across the sinkhole, louder than the storm, harsher than the wind. His cloak whips violently around him, tattered, scorched, snapping like the wings of some skeletal creature. His eyes burn yellow, glowing through the dust, unblinking, predatory. He circles slowly, hunched low, sabers clinking against his belt like trophies rattling in a hunter's den. The platform shudders beneath his steps, and yet he moves with animal grace, each scrape deliberate, each cough a warning. He is not retreating, he is not surrendering, he is waiting. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi, because even when the platform trembles beneath his weight, claws striking like thunder, sabers slashing in a blur of light. Obi-Wan meets him head-on, his blade flashing, precise, controlled. The first clash explodes with sparks, heat searing your face, the sound rattling your bones. Grievous presses harder, his four blades hammering down from every angle, faster than thought, faster than instinct. Obi-Wan parries high, blocks low, sidesteps, strikes. His movements are fluid, relentless, the patience of a negotiator sharpened into the persistence of survival. The storm rages. Sabers clash in blinding arcs, their glow painting the sinkhole walls in wild strokes of light. Sparks cascade down into the abyss, swallowed by the void. The wind howls, carrying the sound of every clash, every cough, every scream of metal. You smell the ozone heavy in the air, feel the heat of each strike burning against your skin. The stone shudders under their feet, cracks, spiderwebbing with every impact. Grievous roars, a guttural growl broken by his cough, his voice distorted by machinery and rage. He slashes wildly, his blades whirling in a storm that fills every space at once. Obi-Wan ducks, spins, counters, his blades striking into the gaps, sparks bursting with every hit. You hear the grind of gears straining, the shriek of servos failing, the wet rattle of lungs that should not still breathe. Because beneath the storm, the truth lingers. He is breaking. Every cough shakes him harder, every strike rattles his frame. His sabers whirl with fury, but they no longer flow seamlessly. They stutter, jerk, falter. His body is strong, terrifying, monstrous. But the man inside is suffocating, drowning in the machine that was meant to save him. His vengeance fuels him, but his body betrays him. That's why it sucked to be Grievous. Because even at the height of your fury, even as your sabers filled the air with light, Ning, you were already collapsing, already dying, already cornered. The duel drives them to the platform's edge. The abyss yawns below, the wind screaming louder, carrying dust and sparks into the void. Obi-Wan presses harder now, his blue blade steady, his strikes precise. Each parry drives Grievous back, each counter digs deeper into the storm. The monster falters, his cough rattles like thunder, his claws slip, sparks flying as he scrapes desperately against the stone. He lashes out in fury, sabers slashing wildly, sparks exploding across the rock. Obi-Wan spins, counters, drives him back again. The monster staggers, his cloak whipping in the wind, his body trembling. For a heartbeat, he looks less like a predator and more like prey. His eyes blaze brighter, desperate, unblinking. His cough rattles louder, harsher, broken, and then silence. The storm pauses, both warriors stand still, sabers humming, wind howling, dust swirling around them. The abyss waits below, patient, endless. You feel it in your chest. The end is close, closer than ever. The hunt is nearly over, but the storm is not done yet. Grievous coughs again, his body shuddering, his sabers trembling in his claws. And then his laugh follows, low, jagged, broken, cruel. The sound echoes across the sinkhole, carried by the wind, rattling in your bones. His eyes burn brighter still, unblinking, defiant. The last hunt is not finished, not yet. The air burns before the fire even begins. You feel it against your skin, the heat of friction, of sabers cutting through stone, of sparks igniting dust into tiny embers. The sinkhole of Utapau is no longer just a wound in the planet. It is an arena, a furnace, a grave waiting to be filled. The wind howls louder now, carrying smoke, carrying sparks, carrying the sound of two destinies colliding. General Grievous towers before you, his cloak torn, his frame trembling, his cough echoing like thunder cracked by storm. 4 sabers hum in his claws, spinning in furious arcs, their glow blinding against the shadows. His yellow eyes burn, unblinking, feral. Each breath rattles his chest, each cough shakes his frame, but the fury still burns hotter than the weakness. He lunges, his storm of sabers cutting the air into ribbons. Obi-Wan meets him. His blue blade hums steady, a calm flame against the raging inferno. His stance is precise, controlled, his movements fluid. Every parry is measured, every counter precise. Sparks explode as their blades collide, the heat scalding your face, the sound deafening, like steel screaming against lightning. The floor shudders with each impact, cracks splintering through the stone. The duel becomes storm. Sabers whirl, claws slam, wind screams. Sparks shower into the abyss, swallowed by the endless dark. The smell of ozone chokes your lungs, sharp and metallic, mixing with the bitter tang of smoke rising from scorched rock. The taste of ash settles on your tongue, dry, suffocating. Every breath feels like fire. Grievous roars, his voice guttural, broken by coughs, distorted by machinery. He drives his blades down in a furious flurry, faster, harder, desperate. Obi-Wan retreats step by step, his blade flashing, blocking high, parrying low, turning each strike aside. His face is calm, but his eyes are locked with the monster's, unblinking, relive, until less. He sees the fury, the cracks, the weakness masked by rage. That's why it sucked to be Grievous. Because even when you fought like a storm, even when the galaxy shook at your name, you were breaking apart. Piece by piece, gear by gear, breath by breath. The platform trembles beneath them, cables snapping in the wind, stone crumbling at the edges. Dust swirls thick, sparks rain down. The abyss yawns wider below. Grievous presses harder, sabers crashing, his claws gouging deep scars into the rock. Obi-Wan ducks, spins, counters. His blade slips past the storm, slicing into armor, sparks erupting. Grievous howls, staggering back, his cough rattling louder than ever, his frame shuddering violently. He does not falter. He surges forward again, sabers whirling in desperate arcs. One slams down, crashing against Obi-Wan's blade with such force the stone cracks beneath their feet. Another sweeps low, sparks flying as Obi-Wan leaps clear. The storm is endless, but it is not perfect. His limbs jerk, his servos grind, his cough interrupts his rhythm. Obi-Wan sees it, he feels it, he waits. The moment comes. Grievous slams his claws down, his sabers crashing in wild fury. Obi-Wan twists, disarms one blade then another, his movements sharp, efficient. Sparks burst as sabers fly from the monster's claws, tumbling into the abyss. Grievous staggers, his breath catching, his body trembling. His eyes burn brighter, desperate, furious. He lashes out with claws, with fists, with fury. Obi-Wan blocks, counters, strikes again. Sparks rain, the storm falters, and then the blaster appears. Obi-Wan seizes it from the ground, his saber knocked aside for a heartbeat. The weapon feels alien in his hand, crude, heavy, not the elegant tool of a Jedi. But there is no time for elegance, only survival, only destiny. Grievous lunges, claws spread, eyes burning, cough rattling like thunder. Obi-Wan raises the blaster. The shot cracks the air. The bolt pierces the monster's chest. The sound is deafening, the light blinding. Sparks erupt, fire bursts from the wound, flames racing across his armor. Grievous staggers back, his cough exploding into a scream, guttural, broken, filled with rage and agony. His claws thrash wildly, sabers falling from his grip, his body trembling as flames engulf him. The smell of burning oil and charred flesh fills the air, choking, suffocating. You hear the cry, metal shrieking, voice breaking, lungs rattling. His eyes blaze brighter, then dim, flickering like dying embers. His claws slam against the stone, scraping deep, desperate gouges. His frame trembles, fire bursting from his joints, sparks spraying in all directions. The wind carries the flames higher, whipping them into a storm. Grievous collapses. The hunter becomes ash. The sinkhole roars with the sound of fire, the abyss glowing with his final blaze. His cough fades into silence, his eyes dim into nothing. The storm that once shattered fleets, slaughtered Jedi and burned worlds is gone, consumed by its own fire. That's why it sucked to be Grievous. Because no matter how many sabers you stole, no matter how many armies you led, no matter how many victories you carved into the galaxy, in the end, you were still just a man drowning inside a machine, a man who burned. The flames crackle, the wind howls, the abyss swallows the echoes. Obi-Wan stands alone, his blaster lowering, his breath heavy, his face shadowed. The fire burns hotter behind him, consuming the monster's remains. See, ending sparks into the sky. The storm has ended, but as you breathe in the smoke, as you watch the flames climb, you feel it. This is not the end. Not truly, because the man who fell here was not the only shadow haunting the galaxy. Another cough still lingers in the dark, not of weakness, but of laughter. Sidious still waits, still pulls the strings, still guides the war toward its final, inevitable fall. The fire of Grievous's body fades, but the fire of the galaxy burns hotter than ever, and the end is still to come. The fire is gone. The wind still howls across Utapau's sinkholes, carrying dust and ash, but the blaze that once consumed the monster has burned out. The stone is blackened, the metal is melted, and the air tastes of smoke and iron. You breathe it in, sharp and bitter, and it clings to your tongue, to your throat, like a memory you cannot wash away. The storm has ended, the cough has gone silent, the hunter is no more, and yet, in the silence after, only whispers remain. The galaxy does not speak of Grievous in unison. His story fractures, splinters, scatters into rumor and legend. On Coruscant, senators speak of him as a monster, a beast in steel who slaughtered Jedi, burned worlds, and kidnapped their chancellor in a strike bold enough to shame the Republic. They describe him as terror incarnate, a shadow of war. To them, his end is triumph, his ashes proof that order can rise again from the chaos. But far away, in the outer rim, the whispers take a different shape. There, among scarred villages and burned fields, old men and women remember another name, Qymaen Sheelal. They remember the warrior who led the Kaleesh against the Huk, who fought to defend his people when no one else would. They speak of him not as monster, but as champion. Betrayed, broken, rebuilt into something he never chose to be. They lower their voices when they speak, as though afraid the Republic still listens, but the words carry weight. Was he ever the villain? Or was he just another victim of the galaxy's endless war? That's why it sucked to be a Jedi. because you could stand on the ashes of your enemy, convinced you had slain a monster, only to realize you had slain a man who once wanted the same thing you did, justice. The whispers grow stranger still. Among clones who survived his battles, he becomes ghost story and nightmare both. They tell of his cough echoing across trenches, the sound rattling their helmets, freezing their blood. They tell of sabers flashing in the dust, of comrades cut down faster than they could blink. To them, he is no man, no victim, no warrior. He is death itself, a shadow with claws, a cough that came in the night. But then there are those who saw him falter, who watched him cough, stumble, shudder, who heard the grind of broken machinery, the wet rattle of failing lungs. To them, the monster was less than myth. He was fragile, a storm that consumed itself. They wonder what he would have been had he never crashed into the ocean. Had he never been torn apart and rebuilt? Would the galaxy still whisper his name in fear? Or in reverence? You feel the weight of the question settle into your chest. It tastes bitter, like the smoke still clinging to the air. It stings, like the dust still scratching your throat, because for all his cruelty, for all his slaughter, Grievous was also tragedy. A life twisted, a body stolen, a spirit shackled to the strings of Darth Sidious. And that is the cruelest truth. The war was never his. It was never the Separatists'. It was never the Republic's. It was Sidious's design. Sidious's hunger, Sidious's laugh echoing in the dark. Grievous was not the master of war. He was the weapon, the claw, the cough, the storm sent to terrify the Republic. And when his use was finished, he was burned. That's why it sucked to be Grievous. Because no matter how many sabers you collected, no matter how many armies you led, no matter how many battles you won, you were never free. The galaxy moves on. Fleets regroup. Jedi whisper of victory. The Senate trumpets security restored, but the ashes of Grievous tell a different story. They remind you that victory is not always triumph, that monsters are not always born, they are made, that vengeance is not always evil, it is survival, and so the legend remains. Some remember a monster who leapt from shadows, whose cough was the herald of death. Others whisper of a hero who was betrayed, broken and bound into a machine that was never his choice. And you are left to wonder. Was Grievous ever truly the villain? Or was he only another victim of a galaxy that never stops burning, never stops hungering, never stops making monsters out of men? The fire is gone, the sinkhole is silent, but somewhere in the shadows you hear it again. Not in your ears, but in your memory. A cough, metallic, broken, inevitable, and it lingers, because legends never truly die.